Fantasy Fanfiction. Longevity. Start from the entry of luck. Chapter 1. Junyuan Escort Agency. Linan County. Junyuan Escort Agency. Name, Zhang Yuan. Realm, 4th level of body tempering, bone tempering. Innate luck, exceptional comprehension, green, strong physique, white. Luck power, 0 strands. Exceptional comprehension, your innate comprehension surpasses that of ordinary people, making it easier for you to understand the mysteries of any cultivation technique. Strong physique, your body is naturally strong, and you have a good talent for body tempering. On the training platform, Zhang Yuan stopped refining his body and let the sweat drip naturally. He glanced at the information on his panel and couldn't help but show a hint of helplessness on his face. He had been in this world for a month now, and despite various attempts, he still hadn't figured out how to obtain this luck power. As for the sudden appearance of the panel, it had indeed been helpful to him. It made him understand his strengths, knowing that he had exceptional talent and comprehension in the realm of body tempering. In this month, through his hard training, he had successfully broken through from the 3rd level to the 4th level of body tempering. And now he felt that he was not far from reaching the 5th level of body tempering. His bones were strong, and his tendons were like dragons. In just 1 month, he had made such great progress, thanks to the guidance of the panel that showed him his innate talents. This alone was enough to prove that Zhang Yuan was a genius among the entire Linan County. During this month in this place, he had observed various types of people in Linan City and found that most people's panels did not have any innate luck. They were referred to as blank panels. Only those who had achieved success in their cultivation occasionally had the blessing of white innate luck on their panels. As for the green level of innate luck, Zhang Yuan had not seen more than 5 people with it so far. On the other hand, Zhang Yuan was not originally from this world. A month ago, he had suddenly arrived in this world due to some accident. He appeared on the body of a person with the same name, same surname, and the same appearance. According to the memories in his mind, Junyuan Escort Agency was the foundation his father, Zhang Junyuan, had worked hard for his whole life. He was a prominent figure in Linan County. With the strength of the 8th level of body tempering, he ranked among the top in Linan County. His Wind and Thunder Sword technique had also gained great fame. Over the years, he had earned the reputation of the Wind and Thunder Sword. This was also the reason why he was able to expand Junyuan Escort Agency. As Zhang Yuan, his only son, he naturally grew up without worries, living a comfortable life. But a few days ago, everything changed. In these few days, a piece of news spread that Zhang Junyuan had failed in his escort mission. Not only did he lose the goods, but also the escorts. Because of this news, many unfamiliar faces appeared at the entrance of Junyuan Escort Agency these days. Their intentions were obvious, they were here to keep an eye on the situation. If that piece of news was false, then according to Zhang Yuan's speculation, considering his father's journey, Zhang Junyuan would definitely appear at Junyuan Escort Agency in these few days to stabilize the situation. Thinking of this, Zhang Yuan pondered in his heart. He didn't know how things went when Uncle Ma went to gather information 3 days ago. If the news is true, then I am like a child holding gold in a bustling market, and I am in danger. This world is not as safe as my previous life. Just as Zhang Yuan was contemplating, a commotion suddenly came from outside. Boom! A loud noise followed. The originally closed gate of the escort agency seemed to have been struck by a siege weapon, exploding open with a bang, and the door latch instantly turned into several pieces of flying wood. At this moment, cries of surprise came from outside the courtyard. It's Lei Zan, the second in command of the Black Wind Gang. How dare he come to Linan County? Does he not want to live anymore? Just as the commotion started, Zhang Yuan looked up at the gate of the escort agency. He saw that the previously closed gate was now wide open, and there was a clear fist mark on the iron gate. Then, a giant man, 8 feet tall and muscular, stepped over the threshold. His body was fierce, like a ferocious beast ready to devour its prey. There was even a scar on his face that was nearly 6 inches long, resembling a centipede crawling on his face. What kind of iron gate is this? It's nothing. It can't even withstand a punch from me. Lei Zan laughed heartily. Zhang Yuan squinted his eyes as he looked at him, searching his memories for information about Lei Zan. Then he glanced at his own panel. Name, Lei Zan. Realm, 7th level of body tempering, blood exchange. Innate luck, as strong as an ox white. As strong as an ox, strength is naturally greater than that of ordinary people. Zhang Yuan couldn't help but feel a sinking feeling in his heart. Lei Zan, the second in command of Haifeng village. As rumored, he has indeed reached the 7th level of body tempering, possessing divine power, making him almost invincible among his peers. It is said that he once fought a long battle with a master at the 8th level of body tempering, with no clear winner. Such terrifying achievements, and he is only the second in command of Haifeng village. Compared to the leader, he is even stronger, and they have hundreds of bandits under their command who roam the mountains and forests. No wonder in previous years, my father could avoid paying tribute to other mountain strongholds, but had to pay tribute to Haifeng village on time every year. The strength of Haifeng village is enough to dominate the entire county. The various escort agencies in the surrounding county towns can only continue their business around here if they pay tribute on time to Haifeng village. In the next moment, Zhang Yuan's gaze was instantly drawn to his right hand. He saw that he was holding a person, an old man who was nearing the end of his years. Uncle Ma. Zhang Yuan's gaze suddenly froze. Lei Zan seemed to sense Zhang Yuan's gaze. He raised his right hand and grinned. Don't worry, he's not dead. The boss said that being friendly brings wealth. With that, he swung his right hand. The person flew towards Zhang Yuan at high speed. Seeing this, Zhang Yuan's face showed a hint of seriousness. His legs sank, his muscles swelled, his tendons bulged, and his back bent like a bow. In the next moment, he reached out his arms and firmly caught Uncle Ma's body. Then he used his strength to rotate and gently placed him on the ground. Afterwards, he lightly placed his fingers on his neck. Feeling the pulse still beating at his fingertips, Zhang Yuan immediately breathed a sigh of relief. On the other side, Lei Zan, who appeared calm and composed, showed a hint of surprise on his face. He himself is at the 7th level of body tempering, having achieved great success in blood cultivation, and with his innate divine power, his strength far surpasses those at the same level. With just a casual swing earlier, although he didn't use his full strength, it still had the force of at least 1,000 kilograms. According to the information he had previously gathered, this Zhang Junyuan's son only had the strength of the 3rd level of body tempering at best. In theory, he shouldn't have been able to catch his swing at all, and should have been intimidated and filled with fear. But now, it seems that the information he obtained earlier was wrong. This young man is not as weak as the information described, he is hiding some strength. However, in the current situation of Junyuan Escort Agency, his strength is nothing more than a floating duckweed, with no possibility of resistance. If he is sensible, perhaps he can still save his life. Thinking of this, he spoke up. Impressive skills, you must be Zhang Yuan, the son of Zhang Junyuan. It is I. May I ask why the second in command of the Black Wind Gang has come to my door today? Zhang Yuan asked as he handed a pill to Uncle Ma. Of course. Lei Zan laughed heartily. He lifted his leg and stepped on a nearby rock, his body slightly bent, his right arm casually resting on his thigh. I am here to collect a debt. Your father did not pay tribute to us this year. Now the interest has accumulated, and we need 3,000 taels of silver. At this moment, Uncle Ma woke up and heard Lei Zan's words. Instantly, anger surged from his heart, and he opened his eyes abruptly. You're talking nonsense. At the beginning of this year, I personally gave 100 taels of silver to your gang leader. Lei Zan grinned, scratched his ear, and then revealed a sinister smile. 100 taels. Are you trying to fool me? Now give me 3,000 taels of silver, or the dozens of people in your Junyuan Escort Agency can wait for someone else to collect their corpses. After speaking, he lightly stomped his right foot. Boom! The rocks under his feet instantly exploded, sending debris flying. A powerful surge of qi and blood rushed towards Zhang Yuan and Uncle Ma. Zhang Yuan lightly placed his right hand on Uncle Ma's shoulder, restraining the agitated Uncle Ma. All right. But I need 1 month to gather the 3,000 taels of silver. Upon hearing these words, Lei Zan's expression froze. It seemed that he couldn't believe his ears. This was completely unexpected. According to his estimation, the total assets of the Junyuan Escort Agency were only around 10,000 taels of silver. 3,000 taels of silver would be enough to severely damage the Junyuan escort agency. He didn't expect Zhang Junyuan's son to be so sensible. Thinking of this, the momentum he had built up dissipated. He shook his head and extended 3 fingers. 3 days. I'll give you 3 days. Zhang Yuan's tone was calm and unhurried. You know this is 3,000 taels of silver, not 300. Who would have 3,000 taels of silver readily available? At the fastest, I will need 7 days to gather it. All right, I'll give you 7 days. After 7 days, I will personally come to collect. Then he grinned, revealing a ferocious smile. I hope you don't try any tricks. You know the consequences if you can't deliver. After speaking, he stomped his right foot, and the bricks under his feet instantly shattered. He then leapt onto the wall. In the next few leaps, he headed straight towards the outskirts of the city. At the same time, as Lei Zan left, outside the Junyuan escort agency, the people with unusual movements began to leave one after another. The fact that the second in command of the Black Wind Gang dared to appear so openly in Linan City was thought-provoking. And he even went to the Junyuan escort agency to demand 3,000 taels of silver. This news was even more shocking to them. Chapter 2, Luck Upgrade. Junyuan escort agency. Seeing Lei Zan completely leave, Old Ma leaned against a stone pillar with a worried expression. Young master, that's 3,000 taels of silver. How could you agree to it? Even if the boss dotes on you, he'll take half your life when he returns. Zhang Yuan sighed deeply. Uncle Ma, do you think my father can still come back? For decades, we have been paying 100 taels of silver to Haifeng Bandit Stronghold every year. Have they ever had any objections? But now. Zhang Yuan paused and continued, now they dare to come to our door and demand 3,000 taels of silver. Don't you understand? As soon as these words were spoken, Old Ma was instantly struck as if by a heavy blow, his eyes vacant and lifeless. Zhang Yuan shook his head, a bitter smile forming in his heart. Originally, he was worried that when Zhang Junyuan returned, his disguise might not necessarily work. After all, Zhang Yuan was his only heir. Every move and gesture of his, every lift of his hand and step he took, Zhang Junyuan was more familiar with them than anyone else. Even if he had all the memories, there would definitely be differences in the subtle details. With Zhang Junyuan's ability to travel the martial world for many years, how could he not notice those subtle changes? But now, it seemed that this worry was completely unnecessary. However, he was now facing an even bigger problem. The rumors from the outside world are likely to be true. Zhang Junyuan's escort this time might have really failed. If he really had an accident, Junyuan escort agency would be in danger. In the past few decades, Zhang Yuan's hard work had also accumulated some wealth for Junyuan escort agency. But now, the strongest expert in Junyuan escort agency is the heavily injured Old Ma, only at the 6th level of the body tempering realm. The other experts have all gone with Zhang Junyuan on the escort mission. This situation is no different from a child holding gold in a bustling market. And this world is not as safe as the previous life. Once the news of Zhang Junyuan's accident is confirmed, it will definitely attract a pack of wolves to feast. Lei Zan's visit today is a clear sign, he definitely knows more than himself. Thinking of this, Zhang Yuan's expression became solemn, and he fell into contemplation. Just then, a voice suddenly came from behind. Young master, can giving 3,000 taels of silver to Haifeng Bandit Stronghold help us get through the current crisis? Zhang Yuan shook his head. No, that was just a temporary measure. We can't give them a single tael of the 3,000 taels of silver. Once we show weakness, everyone will know that my father is in trouble and we will be devoured by the wolves. Young master is right. A deep voice suddenly came from the wall. Who? Old Ma immediately turned around to look. Zhang Yuan also turned his gaze in the direction of the voice, his eyes suddenly narrowing. He saw a thin figure, dressed in coarse linen clothes, a young man of about 20 years old standing on the wall, his body covered in bloodstains as if he had crawled out of a mountain of corpses and a sea of blood. The most crucial thing was that, in Zhang Yuan's eyes, he was different from everyone else. There was a layer of golden radiance enveloping him, a radiance formed by the convergence of golden hues. Detected 13 strands of luck power, absorb. At the moment Zhang Yuan saw this young man, a prompt appeared in his mind. He quickly suppressed the waves in his heart. Silently, he thought, absorb. In an instant, those strands of golden radiance separated from the young man and continuously merged into Zhang Yuan's body. Then Zhang Yuan opened his panel and took a look. Name, Ji Mo. Realm, 7th level of the body tempering realm, blood exchange. Innate luck, sword god talent, purple, innate soul, green, proficient in knife techniques, white. Sword god talent, extremely outstanding talent in swordsmanship, can be called a god among mortals, able to progress rapidly in all sword techniques. Innate soul, naturally possesses a divine soul, exceptional 5 senses, and powerful spiritual strength. Proficient in knife techniques, has a good talent in knife techniques. His pupils suddenly contracted. It turned out to be a purple level innate luck. At the same time, when old Ma saw him, he was overjoyed and exclaimed, Ji Mo, it's you. With his excited expression, he suddenly coughed violently. Suppressing the urge to cough, he quickly asked, what about the old master? How is he? Ji Mo shook his head slightly, holding the horse-cutting knife and leaping down from the wall. As he landed, his figure staggered and his mouth twitched slightly. Ji Mo, what's wrong with you? He shook his head, just a minor injury. Then he said to Zhang Yuan, young master, I'm sorry, I failed to protect the master. After speaking, he lowered his head and remained silent. Upon hearing these words, old Ma's eyes turned red, and his voice trembled as he said, what did you say? The master. Ji Mo raised his head and said calmly, 20 miles away from Haifeng Mountain, we were ambushed by the Haifeng bandits' leader and a mysterious expert at the 8th level of body tempering. The master fell there. More than 20 brothers went out together, but now only I have managed to escape. Haifeng bandits' leader, a mysterious expert at the 8th level of body tempering. Zhang Yuan's eyes immediately became extremely serious. He was somewhat shocked. Why would such experts join forces to ambush Zhang Junyuan? What is the reason behind this? He sighed slightly and patted Ji Mo's shoulder, it's not your fault. Did my father leave any last words? Yes. Ji Mo nodded and took out a brocade box from his pocket. Young master, this is what the escort was really carrying. I suspect that their target was the cargo my master was escorting. The master told me that the people from Junyuan Escort Bureau can be lost, but the cargo cannot be lost. I hope you can deliver this item to its original owner in the future. Zhang Yuan looked at the palm-sized brocade box in his hand, his expression couldn't help but change. He had only heard of this kind of commitment in stories from his previous life. There must be a reason why Junyuan Escort Bureau has grown bigger and bigger. At this moment, old Ma, who was standing aside, remained silent. He had followed Zhang Junyuan since his youth and received great kindness. From his youth to now, he had spent most of his life with him. The depth of their relationship was beyond anyone's understanding. At this moment, silence was the greatest lament. After a long time, Zhang Yuan broke the silence. Uncle Ma, Ji Mo, go back and rest to recover from your injuries. We'll talk about everything tomorrow. Don't let your injuries worsen. Yes, young master. Ji Mo nodded and helped old Ma slowly leave. In the courtyard. Name, Zhang Yuan. Cultivation, 4th level of body tempering. Innate luck, outstanding comprehension, green, strong physique, white, upgradable. Luck power, 13 strands. After reading his own panel, Zhang Yuan's eyes lit up. There has been a change. But why does Ji Mo have luck power gathering on him? Thinking of the distinguished purple level innate luck on his panel, Zhang Yuan couldn't help but ponder. The next moment, he dismissed his distractions, gathered his mind, and refocused on his own panel. With a thought, strands of luck power slowly flowed into the white innate luck. After a few breaths, successfully consumed 10 strands of luck power, strong physique white evolved into extraordinary physique green. Extraordinary physique, your physique is naturally strong, surpassing the ordinary. You have a higher talent in body tempering, both physically and mentally. Chapter 3, Great Increase in Strength. In the courtyard. As the innate luck on Zhang Yuan's panel changed, strong muscles and bones rose on his body, like coiled dragons. For a moment, the bones resonated and made cracking sounds. A tingling sensation emerged from deep within the bones, gradually spreading throughout his body. At this moment, it seemed that Zhang Yuan's accumulation in bone training had undergone a qualitative change. In the next moment, an angry roar involuntarily came from his throat, like the roar of a tiger or leopard. Then, he threw a punch. Boom! A loud noise. Like a bolt from the blue, a thunderclap on a dry land. In an instant, the footsteps of the two people who hadn't gone far paused. Tiger and leopard thunder, that direction is. Old Ma exclaimed in surprise. It's the young master. Ji Yumo said, his eyes showing a ripple. At the same time, a look of horror appeared on Old Ma's face. How is this possible? Tiger and leopard thunder, clearly already at the refining viscera stage. How could the young master progress so quickly, breaking through to the 5th level of body tempering and starting viscera refining? Ji Yumo said, it is indeed amazing, but it is also a fact. We may have underestimated the young master's talent. At this moment, Old Ma suddenly remembered the evaluation the former master had given Zhang Yuan. He had laughed heartily and said, my son has the potential of an immortal. Immortal, that is the title for those who have surpassed the body tempering stage. They are lofty and extraordinary, with long lifespans, capable of slaying thousands of soldiers in one breath. Then he nodded hesitantly. On the other side, Zhang Yuan took a deep breath, holding a giant sword weighing hundreds of pounds, and performed the training method of the family's wind and thunder sword technique. In an instant, a strong wind rose from the ground. The wind followed the sword, and thunderous sounds echoed. In his chest, there came the sound of muffled thunder. Not far away, Old Ma heard the movement coming from Zhang Yuan's side and couldn't help but praise, the sound of thunderous sword, the young master's comprehension is truly terrifying. In terms of understanding the wind and thunder sword technique, he is no longer inferior to the former master. Ji Yumo also nodded slightly. They had both witnessed the young master's comprehension. In just one day, he had already grasped the basics of the wind and thunder sword technique, dealing a heavy blow to the former master. After a long time, darkness fell. Zhang Yuan sheathed his sword and stood there, exhaling the breath he had been holding in his chest. In an instant, a strong wind appeared in front of him, sweeping up the fallen leaves on the ground and slowly drifting to the corner of the wall. Feeling the continuous flow of power from within his body, a hint of joy appeared on Zhang Yuan's face. Refining the viscera to a small extent, it is indeed very promising. After the recent events, only strength can give him a sense of security. At this moment, he could feel that his aptitude for cultivation had undergone a tremendous change. A strange power seemed to be nourishing his whole body, especially his internal organs. After just a short period of tempering, he could feel significant progress. At this rate, it wouldn't be long before his internal organs were fully tempered. For ordinary people, this is something they wouldn't even dare to dream of. The path of body tempering is filled with difficulties at every stage. Especially at the 5th level of body tempering, where the tempering of the internal organs is required, it can only be strengthened through long-term practice. At this moment, Zhang Yuan felt that the strength of his lungs far exceeded what it used to be. His breath was abundant, and he could fight for a long time without fatigue. This is the effect of strengthening the internal organs. A warrior like this has long-lasting energy, is not afraid of prolonged battles, and can easily take the head of a general in the midst of thousands of troops before leaving triumphantly. If he had been born in ancient times in his previous life, he would have left a strong mark in the history books. But in this world, this is just the beginning. In a county town, it can hardly be called a place of experts. But feeling his 5 viscera and 6 bowels being continuously nourished by his physical body, Zhang Yuan was filled with joy and confidence. With such cultivation aptitude, as long as he was given some more time, the current problem could be easily solved. Previously, he had heard that the neighboring Dishan mansion had a genius who, shortly after starting cultivation, broke through to the 7th level of body tempering, the blood exchange stage, in just over a month. Then, in just over another month, he achieved the unity of spirit and energy, reaching the 9th level of body tempering, about to step into the extraordinary realm. Originally, Zhang Yuan had regarded this as an ordinary rumor. But now, it seemed that this matter might not be false. After evolving from white level innate luck to green level, he felt a huge difference in his body tempering talent compared to before. If that person possessed a higher level of innate luck, or if they were like Ji Yumo, possessing purple level innate luck, their cultivation aptitude would undoubtedly be terrifying. In this case, such achievements were entirely possible. Standing in the courtyard, Zhang Yuan once again opened his own panel. Name, Zhang Yuan. Realm, 5th level of body tempering, viscera refining. Innate luck, outstanding comprehension, green, extraordinary physique, green. Luck power, 3 strands. The 5th level is still not enough. Zhang Yuan muttered to himself. With his current strength, he couldn't break through the impasse. In the entire escort agency, there were currently only 2 skilled individuals, Old Ma, who had reached the 6th level of body tempering, and Ji Yu Mo, who had reached the 7th level of blood exchange. Currently, they were enough to deter others, but if the news of Zhang Yuan's death were confirmed, they would be completely inadequate. Thinking of old Huang, Zhang Yuan immediately thought of the purple level innate luck on his panel. Sword god talent, exceptionally outstanding talent in swordsmanship, can be called a god among mortals, advancing rapidly in all sword techniques. He immediately made up his mind to abandon the sword and teach him the wind and thunder sword technique at home. With his talent in swordsmanship, it might not take long for him to become a true master. The only regret was that he had never realized his own talent. Clearly possessing extraordinary talent in sword cultivation, he had mistakenly taken the path of knife techniques for several years. Although he had achieved some success, reaching the 7th level of body tempering in the blood exchange stage at such a young age was quite rare. But compared to the other path he could have taken, it was like heaven and earth. If he hadn't gone astray and focused on sword cultivation, he might have already become a legendary figure among the immortal cultivators. However, if that were the case, the previous Zhang Yuan would not have had the opportunity to show him great kindness and keep him by his side. Looking at it this way, it could only be said that fate played a trick on him. Fortunately, he was still young, and his golden age of cultivation had not yet passed. It was not too late to change his path and start over. If he abandoned the knife and focused on the sword, he might become a legendary figure like the genius in the neighboring Dishan mansion. As for the other matter, the key to breaking the impasse was currently in Zhang Yuan's mind, and that was the county lord of Linan County. Zhang Yuan had caught a glimpse of him from a distance before. His cultivation level exceeded Zhang Yuan's expectations, already reaching the 9th level of body tempering, the limit of mortals, achieving the unity of spirit and energy, a great master. And his attendant, surprisingly, was also at the same level. No one would believe such words if they were spoken. In the entire Linan County, no one had ever heard of the county lord having cultivation. They only knew that he had a powerful attendant by his side. But now, everyone underestimated him. The county lord, who was only in his 30s, already had the 9th level of body tempering cultivation. This level of strength was enough to make him the #1 person in the entire Linan County. Moreover, the county lord had a reputation for being greedy for money and righteous. His reputation among the people was also good, and under his governance, Linan County was doing well, with no worries about food and clothing. Therefore, he could completely become the key to breaking the impasse. Chapter 4, The Respected Lord of Linan County. The next day. Junyuan Escort Agency. Old Ma walked out of the house, clutching his chest. 2 days ago, he was knocked unconscious by Lei Zan's punch. Even though he took some healing medicine last night, he still felt a lingering pain in his chest. Thinking about the encounter with Lei Zan 2 days ago, a hint of fear flashed in his eyes. As a master at the 6th level of body tempering, he had fought against experts at the 7th level of body tempering before, thanks to his rich combat experience accumulated over the years. Generally speaking, even if he couldn't win, he could still fight for a while and find an opportunity to escape. But it was completely different when he encountered Lei Zan. In front of him, he was completely defenseless, easily captured by Lei Zan with just 2 punches. The strength was terrifying, with an aura of breaking through 10,000 techniques with one force. If it weren't for the young master, he might have already met a tragic end. Suddenly, he saw the 2 neatly arranged boxes of silver in the courtyard. He was immediately filled with surprise and said, "Young master, what is this?" Zhang Yuan glanced at Old Ma and said, "Uncle Ma, how are your injuries?" Old Ma waved his hand and said, "I took some healing medicine last night, so I'm fine now." I should be fully recovered in 2 or 3 days. Thank you for your concern, young master. Then, he looked at the silver in the courtyard and asked, Young master, what's the deal with this silver? Zhang Yuan smiled and said, This silver is all for the respected lord of the county. Upon hearing this, old Ma seemed to be lost in thought. At this moment, Zhang Yuan noticed Ji Yu Mo, who had just appeared, and a look of surprise flashed in his eyes. After a night, a golden mist appeared on Ji Yu Mo's body again. It was exactly the same as the dozen or so strands of luck power from yesterday, and it was renewable. Then, with a thought, the golden mist merged back into his body. He opened his own panel and took a look. Name, Zhang Yuan. Innate luck, outstanding intelligence green, extraordinary physique green. Luck power 4 strands. It really increased. He was instantly delighted. The output of luck power was clearly sustainable. The worry in his heart completely disappeared. As long as Ji Yu Mo stayed by his side, he would eventually be able to gather more luck power, and his innate luck would continue to level up. How could he not be happy when he thought of this? On the other side, old Ma, who had been pondering for a long time, suddenly spoke up, Young master, this move of yours is not a bad idea, but do we need to be in such a hurry? He looked at the 2 boxes of silver with a pained expression on his face. At this moment, Zhang Yuan sighed and looked outside. Time waits for no one. They are all watching us. Once yesterday's news spreads, if we don't act promptly to gain the protection of the respected lord, the probes will come one after another. He then looked at old Ma and Ji Yu Mo. Now that both of you are injured, once they see through the truth, it will be too late for everything. Just then, a young escort runner ran over. Young master, everything is ready. Zhang Yuan nodded slightly. Turning to old Ma, he said, Uncle Ma, please accompany Ji Yu Mo and clear the way to safely deliver these 2 boxes of silver to the residence of the respected lord. Yes, young master, Ji Yu Mo responded. At this moment, old Ma spoke up, Young master, what if the respected lord refuses to accept it? Ji Yu Mo suddenly said, Uncle Ma, you're worrying too much. Given the respected lord's character, he won't refuse the silver that comes to his door. Zhang Yuan also nodded and said, It seems that Uncle Ma knows too little about the respected lord. In the years he has served as the respected lord of Linan County, his reputation for greed is well known to everyone. For the silver that comes to my door, I accept all without discrimination. If I give it to him for free, how could he refuse? Besides, I will also offer my family's industry as a gift. He cannot resist it. Old Ma clasped his fists and said, Then everything will be as the young master says. Zhang Yuan nodded slightly, then turned to the escorts who had been waiting by the side and said, Let's go. After a moment, with a muffled sound, the heavy iron gate of Junyuan Escort Agency slowly opened. The fist imprint left by Lei Zan on the gate yesterday was still clearly visible. Outside the escort agency, there was a buzz of voices at this moment. The events of yesterday had spread throughout Linan County after fermenting for a day and night. Many people were curious whether Zhang Junyuan, the Wind and Thunder Sword, would appear in the next 2 days. At this moment, as the gate of Junyuan Escort Agency slowly opened, everyone's gaze was instantly drawn to it. Isn't that Quick Blade Ji Yu Mo? Why is he here at Junyuan Escort Agency? Didn't he go on an escort mission with Zhang Junyuan? Someone with sharp eyes exclaimed. Ji Yu Mo, who had just turned 20, had already reached the 6th level of the body tempering realm. Now, he had broken through to the 7th level and started to change his blood. With such strength, he naturally had some reputation in Linan County. In recent years, he had earned the title of Quick Blade. The horse-cutting knife at his waist was one of his distinctive features. Zhang Yuan was the first to step out of the gate of Junyuan Escort Agency. Ji Yu Mo and Old Ma followed closely behind him. Both of them were full of vitality and their internal energy was surging. There was no sign of any injuries on them. In the crowd, someone whispered, Brother Liu, what do you think? Ji Yu Mo unexpectedly appeared here. Did something happen to Zhang Junyuan? If something happened to him, why would Ji Yu Mo suddenly appear here? The person next to him shook his head slightly and said, Let's wait and see. If Zhang Junyuan didn't encounter any trouble, with his strength at the 8th level of the body tempering realm, which is almost invincible at the same level. We can't afford to provoke him. The wind and thunder sword technique is not an ordinary sword technique. That's true. The person nodded. County government office. In a courtyard, there was a small bridge, flowing water, pavilions, and towers, with bamboo swaying in the wind. Two men were sitting in a pavilion. One of them was about 35 or 6 years old, dressed in green. He was Li Hong, the county lord of Linan County. He held the power of life and death over the entire county. The other man, about 25 or 6 years old, was dressed in purple and looked exceptionally noble. Congratulations, senior brother, on successfully transcending the mundane and opening the spirit sea vortex. Li Hong raised his cup and said, his eyes filled with envy. He had been stuck at this level for more than 10 years. He never expected that his junior brother, who entered the sect later than him, would break through before him. And he did it without the assistance of any elixirs, completing the breakthrough on his own. His future achievements would definitely surpass his own, and he would soon be promoted to an inner disciple. As for himself, he had been serving as the county lord for so many years, guarding the territory for the sect and selecting talents. In addition to exchanging money and wealth for merit points, he still lacked some to exchange for breakthrough assisting elixirs. He had attempted to break through on his own before, but failed. Now, without the assistance of elixirs, he had no confidence in completing the breakthrough. And those elixirs could only be exchanged with sect merit points. The man in the purple robe said, "Senior brother, don't belittle me. If it weren't for your care, I wouldn't have come this far after entering the sect." After speaking, he raised his cup and said, "This cup is to toast senior brother for your care over the years, and also to wish senior brother success in breaking through soon." Seeing this scene, a smile appeared on Li Hong's face, and he drank it all in one gulp. Just as they were toasting each other, a servant suddenly walked quickly over. Reporting to the county lord, "There is a man outside claiming to be Zhang Yuan, and he has brought 2 boxes of silver." "Oh, 2 boxes of silver. It seems that senior brother has trouble coming to his door," the man in the purple robe said with a teasing tone. Li Hong also smiled and said, "Zhang Yuan. Zhang Junyuan's son. It seems he's in trouble. 2 boxes of silver may not be enough for his trouble, but let's meet him first." Then, he said to the servant, "Bring him in and accept the 2 boxes of silver first." Yes. Chapter 5, The Arrival of the Proud Son of Dishan Mansion. County Government Office. In the courtyard, a man in a purple robe said, "According to what senior brother said, this Zhang Yuan is quite troublesome." Li Hong nodded and said, "Indeed, he is quite troublesome. His family's wealth exceeds 10,000 taels of silver, and his father died at the hands of the leader of the Haifeng bandit gang. That leader was once an expelled disciple of the Lengku Temple, and his cultivation was not inferior to mine. Now many people have set their sights on his family's wealth. The reason they haven't made a move yet is simply because they haven't confirmed whether Zhang Junyuan is in trouble. With just 2,000 taels of silver, it's not enough for them to seek my protection." After a moment, Zhang Yuan entered the courtyard with the attendants of the county mansion. "Greetings, county lord." Zhang Yuan saluted. In the next moment, Zhang Yuan's gaze was instantly drawn to a young man in a purple robe. He gave Zhang Yuan a completely different feeling from others. He seemed to be at the center of a whirlpool, constantly exerting an attractive force on his surroundings. The branches and grass around him swayed slightly. Zhang Yuan instinctively opened the young man's profile. Name, Xu Xiao. Cultivation Realm, Meridian Opening Realm, First Stage. Innate Luck, Outstanding Talent, Green, Wind Spirit Body, Green, Lucky Star, White. Outstanding Talent, Extraordinary Talent in Cultivation, often progressing much faster than ordinary people. Wind Spirit Body, Physique belongs to the wind element, naturally suitable for cultivating any wind-based techniques. Lucky Star, luck is often better than ordinary people. Meridian Opening Realm. Zhang Yuan was instantly shocked. What kind of realm is this? He had never heard of it before. Could it be that the so-called immortal cultivators mentioned by others are practitioners of the Meridian Opening Realm? Xu Xiao looked at Zhang Yuan with interest. This little guy had a keen sense and could actually perceive the abnormalities caused by his recent breakthrough and unstable cultivation realm. At the same time, a hint of surprise flashed in Li Hong's eyes. As soon as Zhang Yuan entered the courtyard, he could see Zhang Yuan's level of body tempering. Viscera refining, initial stage. This speed was unbelievable. Over a month ago, he had glanced at Zhang Yuan, and at that time, Zhang Yuan's aura was not strong, only at the third stage of body tempering. Unexpectedly, in just over a month, he had broken through to the fifth stage of body tempering, reaching the initial stage of viscera refining. It seemed that the Zhang family had a talented individual, but unfortunately, Zhang Junyuan died early. Otherwise, with him around, Zhang Yuan's growth would not be a problem, and he might have a chance to become extraordinary in the future. Thinking of this, a trace of regret flashed in his heart. The man in the purple robe glanced at Li Hong and smiled, transmitting his voice, "Brother, do you regret not keeping him?" Li Hong slightly nodded, his voice barely audible. "I plan to spare his life. As for his future opportunities, it's up to him." He turned to Zhang Yuan and said, "I wonder why young Master Zhang has come to see me and presented me with 2,000 taels of silver. Do you have any requests?" Li Hong's words instantly snapped Zhang Yuan out of his contemplation. He collected himself and shook his head, saying, "I have no other requests. I only want to give my family's wealth to the county lord and hope that the county lord will make this matter known to others." After speaking, he walked up to Li Hong and took out a stack of property deeds and land deeds from his pocket. "All the properties in my family, except for the land deed of the Junyuan escort agency, are here. I ask the county lord to accept them." Seeing the stack of property deeds and land deeds in Zhang Yuan's hand, Li Hong's gaze suddenly froze as he stared at Zhang Yuan. After a few moments, he slowly said, "Impressive courage. To achieve this at such a young age, I underestimated you before." He let out a sigh and took out a jade bottle from his pocket. "Since you are so generous, I will also give you something. There is a viscera refining pill of the entry grade in this bottle, enough to help you smoothly complete the refinement of your internal organs. As for the properties in your family, I will accept them all." Upon hearing this, Zhang Yuan's heart was filled with joy. A viscera refining pill. He never expected to gain such an unexpected reward on this trip. The viscera refining pill was no ordinary item. He had only heard of it before but had never seen one. It was a pill of the entry grade, capable of providing great assistance in refining the internal organs. It was said that only those high-ranking immortals possessed such things. Unexpectedly, the county lord had one in his possession and even gave it to him as a gift. From this perspective, his actions were completely worthwhile, and he even made a big profit. The value of the viscera refining pill to him far exceeded 10,000 taels of silver. Zhang Yuan accepted the pill and clasped his hands, saying, "Thank you, county lord." The young man in the purple robe on the side smiled and said, "Brother, you are quite generous today." Just at that moment, another servant hurriedly arrived. Reporting to the lord, Zhao Li requests an audience. Before Li Hong could respond, the young man in the purple robe immediately stood up and slammed the table. "Zhao Li. Haha, the person I've been waiting for has arrived." Li Hong's face was filled with joy as he said, "Quickly, invite him in." Upon hearing Zhao Li's arrival, the two of them instantly left Zhang Yuan aside and eagerly looked towards the entrance of the courtyard. Zhang Yuan was also extremely surprised. Zhao Li. Could it be the recently famous young prodigy from Dishan Mansion? In just 2 months, he had become a master at the body tempering stage, where his spirit and energy were perfectly united. Such talent was shocking to the world. Never did he expect that he would come here today. Thinking about the cultivation level of that young man in purple robes, a sudden realization flashed through Zhang Yuan's mind. After a moment, a young boy with a childish face appeared in everyone's sight. Dressed in a green robe, he exuded an air of arrogance between his eyebrows. His profile instantly appeared in Zhang Yuan's eyes. Name, Zhao Li. Cultivation level 9th stage of body tempering. Innate luck, innate spirit body blue, wood attribute green, vigorous energy white, martial arts family white. Innate spirit body, special physique, naturally close to spiritual energy, can naturally absorb spiritual energy into the body. Wood attribute, practicing wood attribute techniques is twice as effective, progress is rapid, but practicing metal attribute techniques is prone to demonic possession. Vigorous energy, naturally abundant mental energy, requires very little rest and sleep, and has slightly stronger mental power than ordinary people. Martial arts family. Born in a martial arts family, the physique is naturally stronger than ordinary people, and more skilled in various weapons. After reading his profile, Zhang Yuan suddenly felt a bit disappointed. Originally, he thought that with Zhao Li's talent, he must have the same purple level innate luck as Ji Yumo. This would mean that he must have gathered a lot of strands of luck power, and Zhang Yuan could take advantage of it. But now, it seemed that he had overestimated Zhao Li. He only had blue level innate luck, and couldn't condense any luck power at all. According to the explanation on his profile, Zhang Yuan could also understand that his cultivation talent was not as strong as Ji Yumo's. A practitioner of the sword path, their offensive techniques are almost invincible at the same level. Once Ji Yumo abandons the sword and cultivates the sword, he might be even stronger than Zhang Yuan originally imagined. Thinking of this, Zhang Yuan's heart suddenly became urgent. He had someone under him who had talent surpassing this famous prodigy from Dishan Mansion, and he needed to cultivate him well. After seeing Li Hong and the others, Zhao Li slightly clasped his fists and said, "Greetings, Lord Linan County, greetings, immortal elder." The young man in purple robe smiled and said, "No need for such formalities. In no time, we will be calling each other senior and junior. You can call me Senior Shu, and this is your Senior Li." Senior Shu, Senior Li, Zhao Li slightly bowed, his pride written all over his face. The existence of these people, who were like immortals in the mouths of others, was now so friendly to him. How could he not be proud? At this moment, he understood even more the power of his own talent. If it weren't for his strong talent, how could they be so close to him? Facing Zhao Li's respectful address, the two of them were even more delighted. This prodigy in front of them was completely different from them. At the age of 16, he had reached the 9th stage of body tempering, and it was inevitable for him to be extraordinary. Perhaps in a few years, Zhao Li's height would make them look up to him. And as time went on, the gap between them would only grow larger. In this situation, how could they not be proud of Zhao Li's arrogance? At this moment, Zhao Li looked at Zhang Yuan and asked, "Who is this?" Li Hong smiled and said, "You don't know him. This is Zhang Yuan, the son of Zhang Junyuan, the Wind and Thunder Sword. He is a prodigy in Linan County and may become your junior brother in the future." Zhao Li carefully looked at Zhang Yuan. After sensing Zhang Yuan's cultivation level at the body tempering stage, he immediately lost interest. At the same age as him, only at the 5th stage of body tempering, the level of viscera refining was completely different from his talent. He couldn't help but sneer and no longer paid attention to Zhang Yuan. Seeing this, Zhang Yuan didn't linger either. He put the bottle of elixir in his bag and raised his hand to Li Hong, saying, "Thank you for your gift, Lord Linan. I will take my leave now." Li Hong nodded and said, "I have agreed to your request just now. Soon, someone will go and take over the various industries of Junyuan Escort Agency, and the various forces in the city will naturally understand." Upon hearing his words, Zhang Yuan instantly felt relieved. Based on today's observations, Li Hong's identity seemed to exceed his imagination. With his protection now, he should be safe. All he lacked at the moment was time. Give himself some more time. Then everything would not be a problem. As Zhang Yuan left, the two of them instantly forgot about him and became more enthusiastic towards Zhao Li. Chapter 6, Refining Dan Medicine. Junyuan Escort Agency. Zhang Yuan had just sat down and hadn't even had a sip of tea yet. Old Ma couldn't contain his impatience and asked, "Young master, how did it go? What did the county lord say?" After Zhang Yuan took a sip of tea. "Don't worry," he agreed. "That's great. That's great." Old Ma let out a sigh of relief, and his tense expression relaxed completely. Then he lamented, "It's just a pity for the hard work of the master over the years. After decades of hard work, it's like going back to the past in an instant." Zhang Yuan smiled and said, "This trip was not in vain. The county lord was generous and gave me a viscera refining pill before leaving." "What kind of pill?" Old Ma asked in surprise. "Viscera refining pill." After speaking, Zhang Yuan took out a jade bottle from his pocket. In an instant, Old Ma and Ji Yumo's eyes were instantly drawn to this small jade bottle. Viscera refining pill. Isn't it the rumored pill that has reached the highest grade? Old Ma was extremely shocked. That's right. Zhang Yuan nodded slightly. Then young master, you should take it quickly. This kind of pill is worth a fortune. Even if there is a way to exchange it for something valuable, a viscera refining pill would cost several thousand taels of silver at the very least. Zhang Yuan calmly said, no need to rush, there is something more important. What is it? Old Ma's face was filled with confusion. It's about Ji Yu Mo. After speaking, Zhang Yuan said to Ji Yu Mo, who was standing aside, come here. Yes, young master. Ji Yu Mo respectfully responded and came to Zhang Yuan's side. Zhang Yuan leaned down and took Ji Yu Mo's horse-cutting knife from his waist. The two of them looked at Zhang Yuan with confusion. Zhang Yuan held the horse-cutting knife in his hand and lightly flicked the blade with his finger. Clang! A crisp sound of vibration echoed. The knife is good, but unfortunately, it doesn't suit you. Zhang Yuan said in a plain tone. Then he exerted force with his wrist, and the horse-cutting knife shot out like a thunderbolt, instantly piercing into a weapon rack not far away. Young master, what does this mean? Ji Yu Mo was a little confused. Zhang Yuan smiled and said, do you know what weapon you are truly good at? A knife. Ji Yu Mo said firmly. Old Ma chimed in, that's right. Ji Yu Mo's knife is famous in Linan County. His talent in using a knife far surpasses ordinary people. Otherwise, how could he earn the title of a fast knife? Zhang Yuan nodded slightly. Uncle Ma's words are not wrong. Ji Yu Mo does have some talent in knife skills. But his true talent lies in using a sword. His talent in swordsmanship is extraordinary, like a sword god in the world. Sword. Ji Yu Mo's eyes flickered with a hint of emotion. He couldn't help but recall his past. In his childhood, he had a special love for wooden swords. With a slender tree branch in his hand, he could cut down oilseed-rape flowers for miles. He had a special fondness for swords, and that period of time was the happiest days of his life. After his family encountered a great change, if it weren't for Zhang Yuan's assistance, he would have died on that stormy night. To seek revenge, he officially embarked on the path of cultivation and diligently practiced his family's knife technique. After a few years, he achieved some success, avenged his enemies, and settled his grievances. Now, so many years have passed, and he hasn't touched a sword since then. On one hand, it was because his family's body-tempering secret technique was only effective when combined with knife techniques. Without the secret technique's tempering, his talent in swordsmanship would be nothing but an empty shell. On the other hand, he found that his talent in knife skills was not bad. With the help of the family's body-tempering secret technique, not only were his knife skills outstanding, but his cultivation speed was much faster than ordinary people. With all these factors, he had never considered learning the sword. But now, hearing Zhang Yuan's words, Ji Yu Mo couldn't help but feel a little moved. At this moment, Old Ma still had an unbelieving expression on his face. Young master, your words are too exaggerated. A sword god in the world, what kind of evaluation is that? Does Ji Yu Mo really have such talent? And how can you determine someone's talent at a glance? Zhang Yuan smiled and didn't explain anything. He came to the weapon rack on the side and took down his heavy sword that he used for daily practice. Catch! Then he swung his right hand, and the heavy sword, accompanied by a sharp whistling sound, shot towards Ji Yu Mo. Facing the thunderous heavy sword, Ji Yu Mo's eyes remained calm. He reached out and grabbed it, and the heavy sword, weighing thousands of catties, fell into his hand. Ji Yu Mo held the heavy sword, effortlessly waving it twice. He felt as if he had merged with the sword in his hand. Even though he hadn't used a sword for many years, at this moment, he didn't feel any unfamiliarity. Instead, he felt an incredible familiarity, as if he were an expert who had used a sword for many years. A feeling of harmony and unity emerged. At this moment, the sword in his hand was like an extension of his body, easily controlled. But, young master, although Ji Yu Mo has a sword now, he doesn't have the body-tempering technique. How can he abandon the knife and cultivate the sword? Old Ma said. Train him in our family's secret technique, the wind and thunder sword art, Zhang Yuan said in a calm tone. How can this be? This is our family's secret technique, how can we pass it on to an outsider? Old Ma's eyes widened instantly. Zhang Yuan said lightly, why not? Now that only I am left in the Zhang family, as the head of the family, I have the final say on who the Wind and Thunder sword art is passed on to. Moreover, considering Ji Mo's actions over the years, he can hardly be considered an outsider. After speaking, Zhang Yuan took out a slightly yellowed ancient book and handed it to Ji Mo. You can directly comprehend it here. With your current level, it should be easy to get started. Ji Mo's expression changed instantly. He stared at Zhang Yuan for a long time before nodding heavily. Then he took the body tempering technique from Zhang Yuan's hand, focused his gaze, and instantly entered a state of concentration. Seeing this, the two of them quietly left the place. Outside the courtyard, Old Ma looked at Ji Mo, who was extremely focused in the distance. His tone still filled with doubt, he said, "Young master, is his talent in swordsmanship really as amazing as you say?" "Only high, not low," Zhang Yuan said in a calm tone. After watching Ji Mo for a while, he turned and left. At this moment, Old Ma muttered to himself. How is this possible? Could it be that the young master is a reincarnated immortal, able to see at a glance that Ji Mo's talent in swordsmanship is extraordinary? I will wait here and see if Ji Mo is truly as talented as the young master claims, if he has the potential to become a sword god. On the other side, Zhang Yuan returned to his residence. He closed the door and sat cross-legged. He took out the bottle of pills given to him by County Lord from his bag. Then he opened the bottle and poured the pill into his palm. In an instant, a strong medicinal fragrance filled the air. Zhang Yuan felt that the qi and blood in his body seemed to become more active, slightly boiling. There was a clear visible pattern on the viscera refining pill the size of a pigeon egg. Zhang Yuan's heart was filled with joy. The presence of the pattern indicated that this viscera refining pill was indeed of the highest quality. It seems that I have a chance to break through, Zhang Yuan thought to himself. Then he swallowed the pill in one gulp. As soon as the pill entered his throat, it felt like a falling sun, emitting a scorching heat. Until it fell into his stomach. The majestic medicinal power instantly spread out in countless threads, merging into every organ in his body. In an instant, Zhang Yuan's whole body turned red, emitting a red light. It was an imaginary scene caused by the boiling of qi and blood in his body. Such a strong medicinal power. It truly deserves to be a top-grade pill. Feeling the various changes in his body, Zhang Yuan couldn't help but sigh in his heart. Next moment, he calmed his mind and quickly refined the medicinal power in his body. As each strand of medicinal power was refined, Zhang Yuan felt that the beating of his heart became stronger and stronger. Like a drum being struck, each beat stronger than the last. A continuous stream of blood flowed from the heart chamber, flowing to every part of his body. At this moment, his internal organs also became stronger. Chapter 7, Dragon and Tiger Body, Luck Seed. After several hours, the blood color on Zhang Yuan's body gradually faded, and he regained his calmness. His breath became calm and steady. After a while, Zhang Yuan slowly opened his eyes and exhaled a breath. Feeling the powerful internal energy in his body, a satisfied smile appeared on his face. Name, Zhang Yuan. Realm, 6th level of body tempering. Innate luck, outstanding intelligence green, extraordinary physique green. Luck power, 4 strands. Indeed, I've made a breakthrough. The wealth of 10,000 liang given to the county lord is well worth it. Money is just a possession to him now. Only strength is the foundation of everything. Without strength, no matter how much wealth one has, it will only bring trouble. Just like now, with Zhang Junyuan's strength at the 8th level of body tempering, who would dare to have any ideas about the Junyuan escort agency? But now, with the strength of the 6th level of body tempering, he is already considered a master in Linan County. Above the 6th level of body tempering, anyone with the title of the 7th level of body tempering is renowned in Linan County. The strongest forces are mostly at this level. For example, Ji Mo, anyone who mingles in Linan County must remember his face, and no one dares to provoke a 7th level body tempering expert without caution. This is the status brought by strength. As for the 8th level of body tempering, they are extremely rare in Linan County. Each one is a true master. Otherwise, Zhang Junyuan would not have achieved such great success or have such a renowned reputation. Zhang Yuan's current strength, the 6th level of body tempering, has officially entered the ranks of experts. While Zhang Yuan was contemplating, a prompt suddenly appeared before his eyes. Due to your influence, Ji Mo has successfully exerted his potential, causing a significant change in his future trajectory. You have gained 163 strands of luck power and an additional low-level innate luck seed. This. Zhang Yuan looked at the void in astonishment. In the next moment, he quickly opened his panel to confirm. Name, Zhang Yuan. Realm, 6th level of body tempering. Innate luck, outstanding intelligence green, upgradable, extraordinary physique green, upgradable. Luck power 167 strands. Luck seed 1 low-level seed, watering it with luck power can make it bloom and obtain a new innate luck. The highest level a low-level luck seed can obtain is purple innate luck. Luck seed. Zhang Yuan's gaze focused, staring fixedly at the luck seed. After a long time, he finally looked away, a smile appearing on his face. Luck seed, a new innate luck. I didn't expect such a gain. Ji Mo is truly my lucky star. Then, he had a thought, and the luck power on his panel rapidly decreased. After a while, Zhang Yuan stopped when he couldn't water it anymore. At this point, there were only 131 strands of innate luck left on his panel. Then he exhaled a breath. Fortunately, he can still upgrade one of the new innate luck. After the upgrade, it should transform into a blue-level innate luck. Thinking of this, Zhang Yuan's heart suddenly became excited. How strong is a blue-level innate luck? Just look at Zhao Li to know. He only has one blue-level innate luck, although it focuses on a different aspect. His physique is special, naturally able to absorb spiritual energy into his body, and his body tempering efficiency improves rapidly. But his luck effect is equally powerful. Due to his special talent, he has attracted the attention of those immortal-like existences. The county lord and that seemingly immortal-like existence are exceptionally kind to him. This is enough to illustrate the power and rarity of blue-level innate luck. Afterward, Zhang Yuan took a deep breath and suppressed his scattered thoughts. Having gathered his focus, he had a thought in his mind. Successfully consumed 100 strands of luck power, physique extraordinary green evolved into dragon tiger body blue. Dragon tiger body, your physique is special, with an extremely strong innate physical talent that far surpasses ordinary people. Your physical strength is exceptionally powerful. With the emergence of this new innate luck, Zhang Yuan felt a surge of majestic energy erupting within his body. This energy seemed to come out of nowhere, but it instantly permeated his entire body. In the face of this powerful energy, he could feel the cells in his body undergoing rapid division and death, over and over again. With each cycle of the cells, they became increasingly stronger. At this moment, it seemed as if an endless power was surging out from within his body. He couldn't help but let out a long roar towards the sky. In an instant, a majestic voice roared from Zhang Yuan's throat. As if a dragon's roar and a tiger's roar. A storm suddenly appeared in the room. Tables, chairs, and stools flew around, and the screens and lanterns shook violently. Late at night, due to Zhang Yuan's roar, the barking of dogs in the distance started one after another, waking up countless people from their sleep. After a long while, the abnormality within Zhang Yuan's body gradually subsided. The gushing blood gradually calmed down. Zhang Yuan clenched his fist, his face filled with excitement. At this moment, he could feel that the power within his body seemed endless, enough to shake the heavens and the earth. Although his realm hadn't changed at all, he could feel that his strength had grown exponentially. The expanding energy had nowhere to vent, and it was completely incomparable to his previous self. The enhancement of his physical body was not just an increase in strength. The abundant blood and energy within his body were like a surging river, and his tendons and fascia had become incredibly tough. This was an all-around improvement. And Zhang Yuan could feel that he hadn't even started marrow training yet. But under the nourishment of his physical body, the progress of his marrow training was increasing on its own. So this is the blue-level innate luck. Zhang Yuan murmured to himself, feeling somewhat amazed. Compared to his previous self, he could easily suppress him with just one hand. This was the drastic change brought about by the evolution of his physical body. At this moment, Zhang Yuan finally understood how big the gap in talent between people could be. If he had such talent before, even without any cultivation, relying solely on the natural passage of time, He could completely reach the level of blood exchange. This is the power of the blue level innate luck, which focuses entirely on the physical body. In the realm of body tempering, talent would show outstanding performance from the 1st to the 7th level, all related to the physical body. The 8th and 9th levels, on the other hand, were related to spiritual power. The 8th level was nurturing spirit, and the 9th level was the fusion of spirit and energy. According to Zhang Yuan's speculation, if one had outstanding talent in spiritual power, they might have an easier path. So it was difficult to truly judge a person's cultivation talent. Afterward, Zhang Yuan opened his panel and took a look. Name, Zhang Yuan. Realm, body tempering, 6th level. Innate luck, dragon tiger body, blue, outstanding comprehension, green. Luck power, 31 strands. Luck seed, low level, 1, watering with luck power can make it bloom and obtain a new innate luck. Currently, the highest level that can be obtained is purple innate luck. I hope that when it blooms, it can produce a purple level innate luck. Then he pushed open the door and walked out with big strides. It was already late at night, and the moonlight seemed to envelop everything like a thin veil. Lanterns and candles were lit on the walls around the escort agency. Chapter 8. Terrifying Power, Astonishing Old Ma. In front of the Junyuan escort agency. As soon as Old Ma saw Zhang Yuan, his face lit up with joy. Young master, you're amazing. Ji Yu Mo's talent in swordsmanship is indeed as terrifying as you said. Oh, how terrifying is it? Just before you arrived, Ji Yu Mo had already comprehended the Wind and Thunder sword technique completely. In just half a day, he surpassed the lifelong learning of our former master. It's simply unbelievable. Old Ma was full of astonishment. Upon hearing this, Zhang Yuan smiled, completely unconcerned. Just now, he personally experienced the power of the blue innate luck, so he naturally understood that the purple innate luck above it would be even more terrifying. Now, no matter how Ji Yu Mo performed, he considered it to be natural. At this moment, Ji Yu Mo, in the distance, still had his eyes closed. Suddenly, his whole person seemed like an unsheathed sword, emitting an extremely sharp and powerful aura. Young master, what is he doing? Old Ma exclaimed in surprise. I suspect Ji Yu Mo is comprehending the sword's momentum. Sword's momentum? That's impossible. Old Ma widened his eyes. Isn't comprehending the sword's momentum something only legendary immortals are qualified to do? If we ordinary people can comprehend the sword's momentum, we will surely transcend the mundane and become immortals. Ji Yu Mo is only at the 7th level of body tempering, the level of blood exchange. How could he possibly comprehend the sword's momentum? Faced with Old Ma's doubts, Zhang Yuan smiled and remained silent. Ji Yu Mo not only possessed the purple level innate luck of a sword god, but also a green level innate luck, with a naturally powerful spiritual force. Spiritually gifted, those born with a spiritual soul have outstanding 5 senses and a powerful spiritual force. With his strong talent in swordsmanship and powerful spiritual force, it was not impossible for him to comprehend the sword's momentum in advance. In fact, it would be unreasonable if he couldn't comprehend it. The two of them stood there for a long time. Ji Yu Mo slowly opened his eyes. In an instant, it seemed as if there was a flash of sword light in his eyes, exceptionally bright. Zhang Yuan walked over. How do you feel? Ji Yu Mo, who hadn't smiled for a long time, suddenly showed a smile on his face. Very good. Excellent. Thanks to the guidance of the young master, I now truly know who I am. Ji Yu Mo's eyes were bright, full of spirit and confidence. At the same time, Old Ma approached, his face full of envy. Ji Yu Mo, did you really comprehend the sword's momentum? Ji Yu Mo nodded, then shook his head. I still lack a bit, but after a few days of settling down, I will have the confidence to condense my own sword's momentum. Upon hearing this, Old Ma was shocked and speechless. It's actually, just as the young master said. Then he looked at Zhang Yuan with admiration. Young master, you are truly a divine being. Ji Yu Mo also looked at Zhang Yuan with respect. Young master, the favor you have shown me today is as great as giving me a new life. I, Ji Yu Mo, will never forget it. Zhang Yuan smiled and changed the topic. After refining the Wind and Thunder sword technique, has your progress in blood exchange improved? Ji Yu Mo shook his head. There hasn't been much change in that aspect, but my strength has improved significantly compared to before. He held the giant sword in his hand and said, Young master, I feel that the sword's momentum I am about to comprehend is not suitable for heavy swords. It is more suitable for lighter swords. The wind and thunder sword technique has two true meanings, wind and thunder. I have a deeper understanding of the wind aspect. Then I will send someone to make a new long sword for you tomorrow. Thank you, young master. Zhang Yuan nodded slightly, his mind already deep in thought. All the changes in Ji Mo were within his expectations, but the lack of significant progress in blood exchange was somewhat unexpected. Subconsciously, he opened Ji Mo's panel and took a look. Name, Ji Mo. Realm, Body Tempering, 7th level. Innate Luck, Sword God's Talent, Purple, Divine Soul Formation, Green, Proficiency in Knife Techniques, White. Then his gaze once again focused on Sword God's Talent. Sword God's Talent, exceptionally outstanding talent in swordsmanship, can be called a god among mortals, able to progress rapidly in all sword techniques. After carefully reading its description, Zhang Yuan suddenly had a realization. Perhaps his talent does not lie in body tempering. Even if his talent in swordsmanship is high, the efficiency of cultivation in the body tempering realm is limited, not as exaggerated as Zhao Li's performance. In the realm of body tempering, in terms of tempering the physical body, the speed may not be as powerful as his previous extraordinary green-level physique. Each innate luck focuses on different aspects, and the effects may be completely different. Thinking of this, Zhang Yuan instantly gained some new understanding. Then, Zhang Yuan said, Ji Mo, how much has your strength improved compared to before? Ji Mo pondered for a moment and said, Before, I could only rank in the middle and lower levels of the 7th level of body tempering. Now, I have the confidence to be invincible in Linan County at the same level. Even if I face the existence of the 8th level of nurturing spirit, I am not afraid. He added, in a few more days, when the wind and thunder sword technique improves further, my strength will also increase. If I successfully comprehend the sword's momentum, I have the confidence to fight against the 9th level of body tempering. Old Ma beside him couldn't help but exclaim, this is so exaggerated. You can actually fight beyond your realm. Compared to the 7th level of body tempering, the 8th level is more than twice as powerful. The strong ones even have a strength close to 10,000 jin. The internal energy is also several times stronger. Are you not afraid? Ji Mo nodded, not afraid. Zhang Yuan said, that's enough. Tomorrow, the two of us will leave the city together to collect my father's remains at the place where he died and erect a tombstone for him. No, absolutely not. Old Ma quickly advised, only by keeping the death a secret can we have a chance to catch our breath. According to Ji Mo, his strength will improve even more in a while, and then we will have the power to protect ourselves. If the news of our former employer's death is confirmed, even with the protection of the county lord, we will still face a crisis. He paused and continued, the most crucial thing is that before the Thunder War, the young master was set up by the young master. If he gets the news in the city, he will definitely be furious and come looking for the young master. With only Ji Mo, even a fierce tiger cannot withstand a pack of wolves. Zhang Yuan shook his head, as a son, how can I let my father's body be exposed in the wilderness? Then he said, moreover, who said it's only up to Ji Mo alone? After speaking, Zhang Yuan lightly placed his right palm on Old Ma's shoulder and exerted a little force. Boom! The stone slab under Old Ma's feet instantly shattered, and the ground sank slightly. His face turned red, and he seemed to be on the verge of kneeling down. Zhang Yuan immediately released the force in his hand. How is it? Old Ma gasped for breath, his face full of disbelief. How is this possible? When did the young master become so powerful? With just one hand, you made me unable to catch my breath. This kind of strength, it's a bit inhuman. What level has the young master reached now? 6th level, marrow tempering, Zhang Yuan said, what do you think of my current strength? After pondering for a moment, Old Ma said, if we don't consider combat experience, the force you just displayed is enough to dominate at the same level. Compared to the 7th level of body tempering, you are not weaker at all, and even slightly stronger. Zhang Yuan smiled but did not comment. Just now, he only used 3 layers of force to suppress Old Ma, a master of the 6th level of body tempering, with one hand. Now it seems that he can definitely fight against a master of the 7th level. He is not only terrifying in terms of strength, but the strength of his entire body far exceeds that of an ordinary person. When integrated as a whole, it is not as simple as 1 + 1 = 2. Zhang Yuan said, Ji Mo and I are almost equivalent to a master of the 8th level and a master of the 7th level. It's not a problem to leave the city. Old Ma nodded in agreement. We will follow your arrangements, young master. Ji Mo also said, we will follow your orders, young master. Zhang Yuan nodded. That's settled then. We will set off early tomorrow morning. Then he thought to himself, we share the same name and surname, and have the same appearance. There must be a connection that I don't know about. In this way, he can also understand some cause and effect. Chapter 9. Leaving the city. Haifeng Village. At this moment, the village was brightly lit, filled with bustling voices, and presented a scene of chaotic dancing demons. Li Jin raised his wine glass and said, Big brother, come, let's drink. Congratulations on your recovery from your injuries and returning to the 9th level of body tempering. The bald man beside him burst into laughter. It's all thanks to Zhang Junyuan. Without him, I don't know how long it would have taken for me to recover from my injuries. Then he turned to the people below and said, Today, I'm happy. Let's not go back until we're drunk. Oh. Cheers of excitement immediately erupted from the people below. Li Jin regretfully said, if I had known that Big Brother would recover from his injuries, I should have asked that kid for more silver and improved the food for our brothers. The bald man waved his hand and said, money is just an external thing. As long as it's enough, it's fine. Hoarding it all for oneself is not a sustainable way. Besides, don't underestimate the heroes of the world. Even in a small place like Linan County, there may be stronger existences than me. You're right, Big Brother. Li Jin agreed, then raised his glass again and said, here's to Big Brother's successful breakthrough after recovery, becoming a member of the immortal family, and leading our brothers to enjoy the good life. Of course. The bald man laughed heartily. Let's continue to enjoy ourselves here with our brothers. Looking back on the past 20 years, it was really suffocating and boring. Li Jin nodded and echoed, Big Brother. Following rules and regulations is not as enjoyable as doing whatever we want. The next day, the bustling noise of the early market in Linan County had just begun. The large gate made of mysterious iron at Junyuan Escort Agency slowly opened. The attention of the crowd was once again drawn to the resounding opening of the gate. What is that? Someone exclaimed. Why are there so many coffins? What is Junyuan Escort Agency planning to do? At this moment, Old Ma sat on the carriage and asked softly, Young master, isn't this a bit too ostentatious? Without coffins, how can we transport my father's body back? How can we transport the bodies of the brothers from the escort agency? Zhang Yuan said calmly. Let's set off. He closed his eyes. As Zhang Yuan gave the order, several young escorts raised their whips and drove the carriages towards the city gate. At the same time, this news quickly spread to various forces in Linan County. Half an incense stick's worth of time later. At the city gate, Zhang Yuan sat on the carriage with his eyes slightly closed, holding a sword in his hands. Suddenly, whoosh, the carriage abruptly stopped. In an instant, the angry voice of Old Ma rang in his ears. Jia Wandao, what are you trying to do? Jia Wandao stood in front of the carriage, squinting his eyes, and with a kind face, he said, I'm just here to show concern for my nephew. Everyone outside says that Brother Junyuan has met with misfortune. I heard the news and couldn't believe it, so I came to see my nephew, hoping that nothing bad has happened to him. Bullshit. Where did you hear these rumors? My boss has unparalleled skills. How could anything happen to him? Old Ma scolded angrily. Then what's this? Jia Wandao looked at the coffins in front of him, implying something, and smiled. At the same time, Jia Wandao's information appeared in Zhang Yuan's mind. Jia Wandao, a wealthy man in Linan County, is involved in all aspects of life, including food, clothing, housing, and transportation. He is short in stature, naturally wearing a smile, and has an extremely kind face. He naturally possesses a strong deceitful nature and is known as the smiling tiger in the martial world. Most people are wary of him. But among those people, Zhang Junyuan is not included. In the entire Linan County, there are only a few people who can be regarded by Zhang Junyuan. Each one of them possesses extraordinary strength and can make Linan County tremble. Naturally, Zhao Wandao is not one of them. Zhao Wandao's cultivation level is only at the 6th stage of body tempering. He relies on his immense wealth to recruit several experts at the 7th stage of body tempering. However, his own strength is limited, and he still cannot rank among the top in Linan County. Zhang Yuan slowly opened his eyes. Step aside. Nephew, why do you have to be so heartless? In the current situation, it is extremely dangerous for you to leave the city. I have brought several skilled individuals to serve you and ensure your safety. After speaking, he leaned in. Is it true that the rumors are correct? Is this coffin for the collection of Brother Junyuan's remains? Zhang Yuan remained silent, his gaze coldly fixed on him. Zhao Wandao, who had been smiling, suddenly froze. Cold sweat broke out on his forehead in an instant. At this moment, he suddenly felt a strong sense of impending danger. This sense of danger was unprecedentedly intense. It was his innate talent, an extremely sensitive instinct for danger. This innate perception had saved his life countless times before. At this moment, he once again felt this long-lost vigilance. The threat of death was imminent. In the next moment, he quickly retreated, instantly blending into the crowd. He smirked and said, "Since my nephew doesn't need it, then forget it." After saying these words, he instantly lowered his head and disappeared into the crowd with his small stature. At the same time, among the crowd, someone gritted their teeth and said, "What is Zhao Wandao doing? Why did he retreat at such a critical moment?" Although the assets of Junyuan Escort Bureau have been handed over to the county lord, he still possesses the Wind and Thunder sword technique. This sword technique is extraordinary. On the city wall, a burly man in brass armor stroked his chin and said, "Interesting. Zhang Junyuan's son actually made Zhao Wandao feel fear." General, are you saying that Zhao Wandao was scared off by Zhang Junyuan's son? The burly man nodded slightly. That's right. I saw it clearly. He was scared to the point of breaking out in cold sweat just now. It is said that Zhao Wandao has an extraordinary talent, able to sense the arrival of danger. His actions just now clearly indicate that he sensed a great crisis. This is somewhat unbelievable. Indeed, it is unbelievable. Zhao Wandao may be short and fat, but he is not weak. He is also a skilled individual at the 6th stage of body tempering. The burly man in armor also agreed. Below, seeing Zhao Wandao retreat, Zhang Yuan closed his eyes. Let's go. Yes, young master. Old Ma responded and then urged the horse carriage towards the city gate. After a while, Zhang Yuan and the other two moved further away. On the city wall, "General, why do you think they left the city? To collect the body. What? Did something really happen to Zhang Junyuan? No need for nonsense. Didn't you see that the county lord's men took over Junyuan Escort Bureau's assets yesterday?" After speaking, the general in armor jumped down from the city gate. "Stop right there. The county lord has ordered that none of you are allowed to leave the city for the next 2 days. Why? Why?" The general showed his white teeth. "Because of my strength. If anyone dares to secretly leave the city in these 2 days, I will personally attack your lair." Upon hearing this, the crowd deflated. This city defense general was at the 8th stage of body tempering, a powerful expert at the nurturing spirit realm. There were only a few in Linan County who could match him. No one dared to disregard the words of such a person. Chapter 10. Taking Action. 1 day later. Black Crow Ridge. This is the place. On that day, we were ambushed by the leader of the Black Wind Gang and another mysterious person just as we were about to leave this mountain, Ji Mo said, pointing ahead. Old Ma still had doubts and asked, "For so many years, the leader of the Black Wind Gang and our former boss have had no conflicts. Why would they suddenly rob the convoy escorted by our former boss? Everyone knows our former boss's strength. Isn't he afraid of being implicated before our former boss dies?" Zhang Yuan said, "There is only one explanation. Whatever my father was escorting this time must have tempted him, or the mysterious person offered him a tempting condition." Ji Mo nodded and said, "Indeed, that must be it. When we accepted the escort, the client paid us a tempting price." "What price?" "A deposit of 100 taels of gold, and another 1,000 taels of gold upon delivery." Old Ma gasped, "Wow. Such a large sum. 1,000 taels of gold is equivalent to 10,000 taels of silver. What could possibly be worth such a price in that small brocade box? Is there something fishy about it? Zhang Yuan suddenly asked. Ji Yumo thought for a moment and then shook his head. There shouldn't be. Our boss has been escorting goods for many years and has a wealth of experience. People have asked him the same question before, and he said there was no problem. Zhang Yuan nodded, trusting Zhang Junyuan's judgment. He had been traveling the rivers and lakes for so many years, and his experience was definitely richer than his own. His judgment would surely be more accurate than his own speculation. Then Zhang Yuan asked, "Do you know what my father was escorting?" Ji Yumo shook his head. "No, we have never opened that brocade box. As escorts, we cannot pry into our clients' goods. It's an iron rule." Zhang Yuan touched the brocade box on his body and felt a sense of curiosity. After thinking for a moment, he gave up. It wasn't worth it, and there was no need. Besides, he still had to deliver the goods himself. What would happen to the compensation for the 20 or so brothers from the escort agency who died here? Those escorts were the main support for their families, and their entire families relied on them. If there wasn't enough compensation, it was easy to imagine that many tragic things would happen. Since he had taken on this cause and effect, he had to thoroughly understand it. Then Zhang Yuan said, "Let's go into the mountains, retrieve their bodies, and bring them back to Linan County. Let them rest in peace and return to their hometown." Just then, Ji Yumo suddenly spoke up, "Young master, there are still some people following us from behind. Leave them be. When something happens to my father, the whole city will know soon enough. As long as they don't come up and seek their own death, let them be." Yes. As Zhang Yuan and the others entered the forest, several masked figures appeared on the open ground. Someone looked up and said, "Black Crow Ridge. This is the route Zhang Junyuan must pass through. It seems that Zhang Junyuan really fell into a trap here. Speculation is useless. We'll know once we go in and take a look. Which faction do you belong to, brother?" "The mighty god Martial Hall." "Ha ha. I don't believe you," the person thought to himself. Just as Zhang Yuan and the others entered Black Crow Ridge, the light instantly dimmed. From time to time, there were eerie cries of black crows in their ears, sending shivers down their spines. This place is clearly a dangerous place. How could our former boss choose this route? Old Ma muttered. "It's a necessary route," Ji Yumo said. After a while, Old Ma stared ahead with bloodshot eyes. Within 100 meters, there were scattered bodies with injuries lying in all directions. Since they were all martial artists, their strength was extraordinary. Even though they had been dead for several days, they still emitted a strong aura. The black crows circling around them only dared to cautiously probe. Especially one of the bodies, even after several days, no black crow dared to approach. In the next moment, Old Ma took a deep breath and opened his throat in front of him. Roar. A furious roar. Like a thunderbolt on the flat ground, a large group of crows flew into the sky in an instant. Then, Old Ma walked over. One by one, he touched their faces, his lips moved slightly, as if silently reciting their names. Zhang Yuan couldn't understand Old Ma's feelings at this moment, but he could understand. Among these people, some young talents were even seen by Old Ma growing up step by step. For Old Ma, some were brothers, some were father and son. He had been lonely for most of his life, and these people were the closest relatives to him. In the distance, someone stood on a tree branch. Seeing this scene, his expression froze. Sure enough, Zhang Junyuan is in trouble. It seems that many of the skilled people in the Junyuan escort agency are buried here. Below, someone with a strange figure slowly approached. "What is he doing?" Someone behind him spoke up. "He's probably going to confirm whether Zhang Junyuan is among these corpses. We are so far away that we can't see their faces clearly." On the other side, Zhang Yuan felt the masked person behind him getting closer, and his eyebrows furrowed. After a moment, Zhang Yuan said, "Ji Yumo, take action." Yes. Before the words fell, Ji Yumo's figure turned into a gust of wind and rushed towards the person behind him. Not good. The person felt the fierce killing intent emanating from Ji Yumo, his pupils suddenly contracted, and he quickly retreated. But the next moment, he drew a mysterious iron rod from the black cloth on his back, gritted his teeth, and rushed towards Ji Mo. The Divine Might Staff. It seems that he is from the Divine Might Martial Hall. Someone in the distance commented. Another person's face immediately filled with embarrassment because he had just pretended to be from the Divine Might Martial Hall in front of this person. Fortunately, his face was covered with a black cloth, and no one could see his expression. Someone was puzzled and said, "Why doesn't the person from the Divine Might Martial Hall escape?" He actually chose to confront Ji Mo head-on. Ji Mo, the Quick Blade, is a master at the 7th level of body tempering, a higher level than the 6th level. How can he be Ji Mo's opponent? Then he said, "Wait. Ji Mo, why is he holding an ordinary iron sword? Could it be that he has abandoned his knife and switched to swordsmanship? How is that possible?" Someone sneered, "Ji Mo from the Junyuan Escort Agency, everyone knows that his knife skills are outstanding and he has great talent. How could a master who uses a knife like him abandon it and switch to swordsmanship? As for why he didn't escape, didn't you notice the huge difference in their speed? Running away would expose his back and only lead to a faster death." In the midst of these discussions, a scream suddenly came from a distance. "How is this possible?" Someone exclaimed in shock. They saw that the person from the Divine Might Martial Hall in the distance had fallen to the ground, with a spurt of blood from his neck. "What's going on? Did any of you see it clearly?" The person looked confused. "I only saw a flash of sword light, and that person from the Divine Might Martial Hall was beheaded along with his staff by a single sword." Someone next to him swallowed and answered. "How is this possible? Killing a master at the 6th level of body tempering with a single sword? Are you kidding me? When did Ji Mo become so terrifying? Moreover, he is not even using his expertise, just an extremely ordinary iron sword. How can he cut through the Divine Might Staff, the standard weapon of the Divine Might Martial Hall?" Faced with this person's doubts, no one could provide an answer at this moment. They were still in a state of confusion, and what they saw before them far exceeded their expectations. They could imagine that this person was no match for Ji Mo, with a significant advantage of being at the 7th level of body tempering against the 6th level. But no one could have expected that the person couldn't even last for one round and was killed by a single sword. At the same time, Ji Mo spoke from a distance. "My young master said, anyone who dares to approach will be killed without mercy." As soon as the last 3 words were spoken, a chill ran down everyone's necks. The strongest among those who came here was only at the 6th level of body tempering. With the previous example, who would dare to disregard his words? If Ji Mo could kill the person from the Divine Might Martial Hall with a single sword, it wouldn't take much effort for him to kill them. In the distance, Ji Mo coldly glanced at the people in the distance. After confirming that they dared not make any more moves, he turned and left. Chapter 11, Opportunity, Centennial Spirit Plant. Black Crow Ridge. Old Ma started digging a hole on the ground with his bare hands. In just a moment, he dug out a large hole that was 2 meters deep. His efficiency was astonishing. Previously, even when Zhang Yuan was only at the 5th level of body tempering, he was able to catch Old Ma, who weighed over 1,000 jin, with his strength alone when he was thrown by Thunder Battle. Not to mention Old Ma, who was already at the 6th level of body tempering. His strength had long surpassed 1,000 jin, and his powerful physical body was not afraid of ordinary injuries and fatigue. After a while, Old Ma found a wooden board and picked up a piece of broken weapon debris from the ground. "The grave of my younger brother Sun Ming, established by his brother Ma Shizhong." As he carved, he said, "Sun Ming, you have no parents, no children, and no one to help you bury you when I take you back. As your brother, I will establish a tombstone for you here, hoping that you won't blame me." Ji Mo walked over and said, "Uncle Ma, let me help you." "No need, I want to bury these brothers myself. This is my last chance to be with them." Zhang Yuan sighed lightly and then came to the body of Zhang Junyuan. At this time, there was still a majestic blood aura emanating from him. His eyes were wide open, unusually bright, as if he hadn't died yet. His clothes were torn at the chest, with a crimson palm print imprinted on it. Judging from the power of this palm, it was estimated that his internal organs were all shattered. It was obvious that Zhang Junyuan died under this palm. Zhang Yuan squatted down and gently touched his eyelids. "Father, rest in peace." As he spoke, Zhang Junyuan's eyes closed completely. Zhang Yuan picked up his body and step by step, he walked to the carriage and placed him in the coffin. Several people in the distance saw this scene and turned away one after another. Even though they were far away and couldn't see the face of the corpse clearly. But from this scene, they could guess that the person in the coffin was Zhang Junyuan, the master of Junyuan Escort Agency, who was famous in Linan County. On the other side, Old Ma had already erected tombstones for the lonely brothers. He stood up and said, "Young master, I'm done." Zhang Yuan nodded, "Then gather the bodies of the other brothers, and when we return to the city, hand them over to their families so that they can rest in peace." Immediately, everyone started to act. They all put the bodies of their fallen brothers into the coffins. Just then, Zhang Yuan took a step forward and suddenly a prompt appeared in front of him. Open black lens bracket detected the presence of an opportunity nearby, relatively close. Will you consume 23 strands of luck power to obtain detailed information about this opportunity? Close black lens bracket. Zhang Yuan was stunned. Luck power actually had this effect. His heart suddenly surged with waves. The word, opportunity, represented great significance. So many legendary stories began with the word, opportunity. Zhang Yuan immediately silently recited in his heart. Open black lens bracket yes, close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket successfully consumed 23 strands of luck power, close black lens bracket. In the next moment, another prompt flashed before Zhang Yuan's eyes. Open black lens bracket 5 miles north of here, there is a valley. Next to the pool of water in the valley, there is a newly matured centennial spirit plant, close black lens bracket. Spirit plant. Zhang Yuan's heart was filled with joy. Then he came back to his senses and looked around. There were still 2 or 3 figures lingering in the distance. So he said, "Uncle Ma, come with me to a place." "Where?" "Don't ask too much." Old Ma nodded repeatedly, "Yes." "Young master, what about me?" Ji Yu Mo suddenly asked. "You stay here with the remaining brothers." Zhang Yuan looked at the figures in the distance and hinted, "I don't feel at ease without you here." "Yes, young master." "Uncle Ma, follow me." As soon as he finished speaking, Zhang Yuan's figure suddenly disappeared from this place and rushed towards the north. His figure was extremely fast, flashing through the forest. Seeing this, Old Ma quickly said, "Wait for me, young master." At the same time, far away, "Should we go and take a look?" A person in black stood on a thick branch and said, "Let's go. They are so unusual, there must be a reason." Just as they were about to move and follow. Swoosh, swoosh. 2 sharp sounds instantly entered their ears, the sound of cutting through the wind and waves. The expressions of the 2 people changed instantly, and they stepped back. The next moment, the 2 people saw the trunk not far in front of them explode with a bang, debris flying. The 2 people looked closely and found that the culprits were actually 2 small stones. Those 2 pieces of broken stones penetrated deep into the trunk, leaving a bowl-sized hole 3 inches deep. The 2 people instantly broke out in a cold sweat. If they hadn't retreated quickly just now. At this moment, the bowl-sized hole would not have appeared on the trunk, but on them. At the same time, Ji Yu Mo's voice came from a distance, "If there is any more movement, I will kill you both." The 2 people heard this, looked at each other, and quickly turned around and retreated. A few minutes later, Zhang Yuan stopped on a cliff. There were swirling clouds and mist at the bottom of the valley beneath his feet, so deep that nothing could be seen. Thick vines spread down from the cliff, disappearing into the clouds and mist. This should be the place. Zhang Yuan thought to himself. Old Ma also appeared behind him. He took a deep breath and exhaled the stale air in his chest. "Young master, do you want to go down to the bottom of the valley?" "Yes, there is something I want down there." After speaking, Zhang Yuan glanced at the cliff beneath his feet. Then he leapt and grabbed a thick vine. As his arm loosened, his body suddenly slid down. Between the loosen and the fall, Zhang Yuan's figure rapidly descended. Old Ma quickly followed. After a moment, the 2 of them landed in the valley one after another. There was mist and fog in the valley, and not far away was a deep ancient pool, with mist swirling on the water's surface. Beside the ancient pool, a completely bloomed bright red spiritual plant swayed in the air. It had 7 petals, and occasionally, little red light fell between the petals. Old Ma's eyes suddenly froze, surprised. Is this the legendary spiritual medicine? Yes. Zhang Yuan nodded slightly. Only now did Zhang Yuan completely let go of his worries. The hints were not wrong, it was indeed an opportunity. This spiritual plant can definitely greatly increase my strength. Just at this moment, roar! A deafening roar came from his ears. The expressions of the two people changed slightly. Zhang Yuan looked in the direction of the sound. He saw a giant brown bear, towering and walking upright, appearing in his sight. It was as tall as a zhang, with a menacing aura. Its body was covered with scratches, large and small, still oozing blood, and its flesh turned outward, indicating serious injuries. Especially at the corner of its eye, half of its face was torn off by claws, revealing the red flesh underneath. Obviously, this was a brown bear that had just gone through a fierce battle. Old Ma whispered, "Young master, we can't match this beast. I'll distract it, you find a chance to pick the spiritual plant and we'll retreat." Zhang Yuan shook his head, "No need, it is already at its last breath. I will deal with it." "No." Old Ma shouted, "Young master, you lack experience and don't know the danger of fighting a trapped beast. If something happens to you, how can I explain to your late father's spirit in heaven?" After speaking, he stomped his right foot, and his whole person rushed towards the brown bear. However, he had only left half a body length when a tremendous force from behind stopped him. "This is..." He turned his head and saw Zhang Yuan's face full of smiles. "Uncle Ma, rest assured, trust me." Chapter 12. Deficiency in the body. Zhang Yuan swung his arm, causing the entire body of the old horse to rapidly retreat backwards. He then swiftly leapt forward, using the momentum. The brown bear saw Zhang Yuan charging towards it, and a cruel glint flashed in its eyes. In the next moment, it roared angrily towards the sky, raising its bear paw high. When it reached the highest point, the palm-sized bear paw suddenly swept downwards, covering almost half of the sky. At this moment, Zhang Yuan still did not dodge or avoid, and continued to charge towards the brown bear. Seeing this scene, a hint of worry flashed across the old horse's face. He couldn't afford to directly face this palm. The vitality of this brown bear was so strong that even though he was dozens of meters away, he could feel the immense pressure emanating from its body. From his perspective, in terms of body tempering realm, this brown bear was no less than a master at the blood exchange level. If you also consider its advantage in size, even a master at the blood exchange level would not dare to rashly face this palm. But at this moment, Zhang Yuan clearly had no intention of avoiding. Thinking of this, he immediately shouted, "Young master, retreat quickly. Don't try to take it head on." At the same time, the brown bear heavily swung down its giant paw. It seemed to envision that in the next moment, this small and skinny human would be crushed into a pool of blood by its palm. Thinking of this, it felt extremely pleased, and even wanted to howl towards the sky. However, in the next moment when the two collided, bang! A dull sound rang out. Contrary to its wishes, its bare paw was firmly caught by that human. It looked stunned, with a human-like confusion on its face. In the distance, the old horse also looked stunned. How is this possible? His face was filled with disbelief. In the next moment, roar! Zhang Yuan shouted angrily, stomping his right foot on the ground. Force surged from his foot, traveled along his spine, and rushed into his arms. Under this force, the massive body of the brown bear was instantly lifted by Zhang Yuan. Its paws slowly left the ground. At this moment, fear filled the brown bear's eyes. Experiencing this force firsthand, it finally understood that it was no match for the weak-looking man in front of it. Even in its prime, it would never be able to match him. In the face of this terrifying power, it had no qualifications to resist. Moreover, it had already lost too much blood, and its strength was greatly diminished. Not far away, the old horse stared in disbelief at this scene. Muttering to himself, he said, "How is this possible? Die!" Zhang Yuan shouted angrily, swinging both hands down in a circular motion. Boom! A shocking sound erupted. The ground trembled and rocks fell from the cliff, causing the earth to shake slightly. The brown bear, struck by this blow, instantly collapsed and lay motionless on the ground. At this moment, The old horse's face was filled with incredulity. Zhang Yuan, who was only at the 4th level of the body tempering realm a month ago, a carefree young man, had now become a match for a blood exchange expert at the 7th level of the body tempering realm. If this were to be told, no one would believe it. No one would believe that Zhang Yuan, who was only at the 4th level of the body tempering realm a month ago and seemed like a playboy, had now become powerful enough to rival a blood exchange expert at the 7th level of the body tempering realm. If this were to be told, people would just laugh it off as a topic for idle chat. On the other side, Zhang Yuan approached the brown bear and looked down at it. The brown bear's eyes revealed a pleading gaze. Seeing that Zhang Yuan did not send it on its final journey, the old horse came to Zhang Yuan's side. "Young master, shall I do it for you?" "No need." Zhang Yuan shook his head. He lifted his leg and kicked his knee. Bang! A muffled sound. The head of the brown bear instantly exploded like a water bag, lifeless. Zhang Yuan walked towards the fiery red spiritual plant. There's always a first time for everything. If I don't dare to take a life, how can I grow? Young master has truly grown up. The late master can rest in peace in the heavens. Old Ma, who was behind him, said with relief. Uncle Ma, you are knowledgeable. Can you recognize what kind of spiritual medicine this is? Old Ma shook his head. How can I recognize it? In my whole life, this is the first time I've seen a living spiritual medicine. Usually, these things are only in the hands of immortals. If we offer this to an immortal, we will enjoy endless glory and wealth for the rest of our lives. Zhang Yuan smiled and remained silent. In his heart, he didn't think much of it. Not to mention glory and wealth. Even if it were 10,000 taels of gold, what would it matter? This world was obviously extraordinary. Without strength, so-called glory and wealth would be nothing but empty promises. Having enough strength, glory and wealth would be within easy reach. Moreover, there were realms beyond the body tempering stage. If his guess was correct, breaking through the body tempering stage would lead to the existence they referred to as immortals, with greatly increased lifespans. In this case, what did wealth even matter? This was the path to immortality. In the history of the previous life, how many emperors were obsessed with the concept of immortality? Who in the world could resist the temptation of the word, immortality? Old Ma suddenly asked, "Young master, how did you know there was a spiritual medicine here?" Intuition. Zhang Yuan's thoughts wandered outside the sky as he casually replied. After a moment, he came back to his senses and looked at the spiritual plant in front of him. Old Ma became a little anxious and said, "Young master, don't just stand there. Swallow and refine this spiritual plant quickly. It will greatly enhance your strength." Zhang Yuan shook his head. "No rush." After saying that, he lowered his head and reached out to pluck a leaf from the spiritual medicine, then put it in his mouth. Old Ma nervously watched Zhang Yuan. After a few breaths, seeing that Zhang Yuan's expression hadn't changed, he couldn't help but ask, "Young master, how is it? Do you feel anything?" Zhang Yuan shook his head and closed his eyes. Then his lips moved slightly, gently biting the surface of the leaf. In an instant, a cool liquid surged out. It spread along his tongue and into his body, making his body feel as if it had encountered a long-awaited rain after a drought. His cells were filled with joy and excitement. Feeling the various changes in his body, Zhang Yuan was amazed. It seemed that his body had been in a state of deficiency recently. With the power generated by this leaf, he finally noticed the changes in his body. Thinking about it, he found it quite reasonable. The strength of his physical body had been increasing rapidly every day, thanks to the progress of his marrow refinement. However, everything in the world followed the law of conservation, and energy couldn't be created out of thin air. The fact that his physical body had become stronger was due to the daily depletion without any replenishment, so it was normal to have a deficiency. Fortunately, he noticed it early. If this continued for a little longer, it might even damage the foundation of his body. Thinking of this, he felt extremely fortunate. Then he swallowed the leaf completely and opened his eyes. In his abdomen, the leaf instantly turned into a pure energy, which was absorbed and refined by his body in an instant. But this energy was like a drop in the bucket. It couldn't completely make up for the deficiency in his body, but instead fully activated his dormant physical body. At this moment, Zhang Yuan could clearly feel the hungry signals coming from inside his body. Old Ma saw Zhang Yuan come back to his senses and quickly asked, "Young master, how is it? Is it not poisonous?" Zhang Yuan shook his head. "It's not poisonous. It's a genuine spiritual plant." "That's great." Old Ma's eyes lit up. "Young master, quickly refine it. A complete spiritual plant is a great opportunity." Chapter 13. Mastering Marrow, Great Increase in Strength. Beside the ancient pool, Zhang Yuan plucked a petal and put it in his mouth. A powerful medicinal force instantly exploded in his mouth. His face turned red in an instant. Zhang Yuan quickly closed his eyes and focused his mind. He transported and refined the immense and pure medicinal force within his body. At this moment, signals of joy and excitement came from all parts of his body. It was as if a desert suddenly attracted a torrential rain. They were all greedily absorbing this source of life. After a long time, Zhang Yuan slowly opened his eyes. A look of joy appeared in his eyes. "Young master, how is it?" Zhang Yuan clenched his fist and smiled with delight on his face. "Very good. Excellent." At this moment, he felt that the emptiness in his body had been filled, and his body had been relieved to a certain extent. "Uncle Ma, protect me. I want to continue refining this spiritual plant." "Yes, young master," Old Ma responded. Then, Zhang Yuan picked another petal and threw it into his mouth. Closing his eyes and sitting cross-legged, he focused on refining the medicinal force within his body. With time and effort, petal after petal was thrown into the air by Zhang Yuan. When he finished refining the third petal, Zhang Yuan felt an extremely fulfilling sensation in his body. This indicated that he had completely replenished the previous deficiency in his body. When he refined the fourth petal, he found that the powerful medicinal force began to merge into his marrow. Blood flowed out of the marrow, and refining the marrow was a necessary condition to enter the blood exchange level. The marrow is like frost, and the blood is like mercury. Only by thoroughly changing from the foundation can one achieve the transformation of blood into mercury and the perfection of the physical body. Now, the medicinal force merged into the marrow. The marrow was undergoing rapid changes. Suddenly, a tingling sensation emerged from the marrow. At this moment, Zhang Yuan was filled with joy. Among the first 7 stages of body tempering, refining the marrow is the most time-consuming. The marrow is the most difficult to temper, and it can only be slowly tempered through the practice of grinding with a water millstone. It takes a very long time, and if there is no secret formula for medicinal baths, the time required is even more terrifying. The reason why Ji Yu-mo was able to become famous at a young age is not unrelated to Zhang Junyuan's support. Without Zhang Junyuan's support, relying solely on Ji Yu-mo's previous misguided path of only cultivating knife skills, it would be almost impossible to reach the current level. This is also the reason why it is difficult for the lower class to produce outstanding individuals. Even if the talent is excellent, without sufficient resources, one will eventually become ordinary. The path of cultivation is only a golden decade or so. Once one enters middle age, their vitality begins to decline from its peak. Even if one has outstanding talent, there will be little more fortune. Only those true geniuses can break free from the constraints of resources. Just like Zhao Li from the Dishan mansion. But once such a genius emerges, countless people will invest in them, and they will never lack resources. As more and more petals were refined by Zhang Yuan, his aura became stronger and stronger, and old Ma, who was beside him, was filled with joy at this scene. The stronger Zhang Yuan's strength, the more at ease old Ma felt. After a long time, Zhang Yuan slowly opened his eyes. At this moment, all 7 petals on the spiritual plant had entered Zhang Yuan's abdomen. Only 3 or 4 lonely green leaves were left. "Young master, how is it?" Zhang Yuan exhaled a breath of turbidity and said, "Not bad, I have mastered my marrow." "That's great. The stronger the young master's strength, the better it is for our Junyuan escort agency." Zhang Yuan nodded slightly, feeling deeply moved. Truly a rare talent, the medicinal effects are terrifyingly strong. Not only did it replenish the deficiency in my body, but it also allowed me to achieve great progress in marrow refinement. Now, I am not far from breaking through. It will probably only take 3 to 5 days of settling down. Then I can enter the 7th level of body tempering and become a master at the level of blood exchange. No wonder the immortals in the rumors are so eager for all kinds of rare treasures. Experiencing this effect firsthand, Zhang Yuan finally understood the reason behind it. The efficacy of this 100-year-old spiritual medicine far surpasses that of the viscera refining pill that has reached the grade level. The difference between the two is like night and day. The word, opportunity, is indeed crucial. Exchanging 23 strands of luck power for this 100-year-old spiritual medicine was not in vain. However, now the luck power is almost depleted. I don't know when I can fully unlock the luck seed. Thinking of this, Zhang Yuan opened his panel and took a look. Name, Zhang Yuan. Realm, 6th level of body tempering. Innate luck dragon and tiger body blue, outstanding intelligence green. Luck power, 4 strands. Luck seed, low level, watering with luck power can make it bloom and obtain new innate luck. Currently the highest is purple innate luck. There are only 4 strands of luck power left, and even with the one that will be born on GU mode tomorrow, it is still not enough to feed the luck seed's needs. Zhang Yuan suddenly felt a headache. The luck power is really lacking, and it is extremely difficult to obtain. Currently, it seems that only the geniuses with purple innate luck power can be born with luck power. Now, in the entire Linan County, only GU Mo can be born with luck power. Even Zhao Li, whose name as a genius has spread from Dishan Prefecture to Linan County, and his fame is second to none, only has blue level innate luck. It can be imagined how rare purple innate luck is. It is an understatement to say that it is 1 in a million. Thinking of this, Zhang Yuan's headache worsened. Then he shook his head. Forget it, let's not think about it. Let everything go with the flow. 1 strand per day, slowly nourishing it, one day this luck seed will bloom. I just hope it won't give me a trash innate luck. Then Zhang Yuan calmed his mind and dispelled all distractions. Uncle Ma, let's go. It's time for us to go back. Yes, young master. On the mountain valley, 2 masked men looked down. One of them looked puzzled and said, something's not right. I followed their tracks all the way here, how could their tracks suddenly disappear? Do you think they went down along these vines? The other person pointed to the thick vines. Suddenly, the man's eyes lit up. You know what, it's possible. Otherwise, with my tracking skills, I wouldn't have lost them. Besides, they didn't conceal their tracks at all along the way, so I couldn't have missed them. If that's the case, let's go down and take a look. Okay. Just then, the man exclaimed excitedly, you guessed it right, they are indeed down there, look over there. He raised his hand and pointed ahead. In the mist below, the figures of an old man and a young boy emerged. It's indeed Zhang Yuan, the son of Zhang Junyuan, with Ma Shizhang. The other person's eyes narrowed slightly, showing a hint of excitement. Ma Shizhang is right beside him, should we go up? The person whispered. Of course, both of us are at the 6th level of body tempering, and Ma Shizhang is just at the 6th level of body tempering. How can he be our match? Capturing Zhang Yuan will surely bring us some benefits. Besides wealth, martial arts techniques and secret formulas are also valuable. In the next moment, the two rushed towards the place where Zhang Yuan and Ma Shizhang appeared. Chapter 14. Breaking the Old and Rotten. On the steep cliffs of the valley. The old horse said, young master, someone is here. Zhang Yuan glanced at the two of them and instantly saw a panel in his eyes. Then he said, no need to be nervous, just 2 idiots. As soon as he finished speaking, Zhang Yuan exerted force with his arm, and his whole body shot up into the sky like an arrow along the green vine. So fast, old Ma exclaimed. Then he quickly followed, using all his strength to climb up. However, he found himself getting farther and farther away from the young master. On the other side, just as the two of them arrived above Zhang Yuan's head and before they could catch their breath, they saw a figure shooting up from below. One of them's expression changed slightly, so fast. This was different from what he had speculated. According to his speculation, they should have arrived here first, taking advantage of the high ground. But unexpectedly, they had just arrived here. Before they could prepare, a figure suddenly rushed out from below. But when he saw the person's face clearly, he suddenly breathed a sigh of relief. It was him, Zhang Junyuan's son. Although he didn't know how Zhang Yuan could come up so quickly, it didn't matter. If the person who came was Ma Shizhang, he would still have some worries. After all, they were both at the 6th level of body tempering. Ma Shizhong was experienced and not so easy to kill. But Zhang Yuan was different, a young man who hadn't even reached adulthood. How much ability could he have? While he was pondering, Zhang Yuan had already landed on the ground and was looking at the two of them as if he were looking at dead people. "Kid, I don't like the look in your eyes, I'll torture you later," one of them said with a fierce gaze. "Don't waste words, attack quickly, or it'll be too late." As soon as he finished speaking, he stomped his right leg on the ground. Boom! His whole body shot towards Zhang Yuan like an arrow. At this moment, Zhang Yuan seemed to be stunned. Expressionless, he stood still in place. "Ha! I knew it, this rich young master is nothing without his father Zhang Junyuan." The man saw Zhang Yuan's reaction and felt disdainful in his heart. The other person saw this scene and felt a sudden sense of fear. In the next moment, when the man rushed close, Zhang Yuan moved instantly. His blood and chi surged, taking a step forward, and the ground beneath his feet instantly cracked. So fast. The man in the distance's pupils suddenly contracted, his face full of shock. The other person, seeing Zhang Yuan so close, felt endless terror in his pupils. This speed is impossible. He had just had this thought in his mind. In an instant, he felt a tremendous force landing on his chest. In an instant, he heard the sound of his internal organs rupturing, and the sound of his bones cracking. "This is impossible," he exclaimed with all his might. His body flew backward like a torn rag. At the same time, the man not far away had a look of astonishment on his face. In his eyes, as soon as Zhang Yuan moved, his fist landed on the man's chest. In an instant, the man died instantly. The power of this punch directly blew apart the clothes on his back. A clear fist mark appeared on his back. This person is unbeatable. Escape. Seeing this scene, he instantly turned around and ran away, completely devoid of fighting spirit. His heart filled with endless fear. Zhang Junyuan's son was actually so terrifying, what kind of monster is this? At this moment, he deeply regretted it. Just now, I should have obediently listened to Ji Yumo's warning and returned to Linan County. Instead, I shouldn't have listened to what this person said. Now I haven't gained any benefits, but I'm going to lose my life for nothing. Thinking of this, he deeply regretted it. Zhang Yuan looked at the black-clothed man fleeing for his life and shook his head, saying, "If only I had known, why bother?" He lifted a piece of broken stone with his toe and kicked it into the air. Swoosh! A sharp sound of breaking through the air rang out. Ripples appeared in the air. Not good. The man's heart was filled with horror. He was very familiar with this sound. He had almost died under Ji Yumo's stone just now. His heart suddenly turned cold, and he didn't even dare to turn his head. He prepared to change direction and dodge directly. However, as soon as this thought arose, he felt a severe tearing pain in his back. So fast. His footsteps paused, and he looked down. He saw a through-and-through blood hole in his chest. A sense of weakness surged up rapidly. What kind of monster is this? He murmured to himself. Then, with a plop, he fell to the ground. Zhang Yuan saw this scene and remained calm. Originally, he thought he would be nervous, weak, and break out in a cold sweat. After all, this was the first time he had killed someone. But at this moment, he found himself indifferent. There was no nervousness, no joy. After a few breaths, Old Ma finally climbed up from below the cliff. Seeing the two bodies lying in front of him, Old Ma's face was full of confusion. "What's going on? They were not good people and I killed them," Zhang Yuan said calmly. Old Ma's heart was filled with waves of shock. It had only been a short time, and I was only a dozen breaths behind. These two people were killed by the young master. How strong is the young master's current strength? He looked deeply at Zhang Yuan, as if wanting to get to know him again. Then he came to one of the bodies and pulled off the black cloth on his face. Old Ma's pupils suddenly contracted, and he exclaimed, "It's him." "Who?" Zhang Yuan asked. "The hall master of the Qinglong Hall in the Haishui gang." After seeing the face of the body, Old Ma was even more shocked. He was very clear about this person's strength. A 6th-level body tempering expert, even compared to him, was not much weaker. But looking at the injuries, it seemed that he had no power to fight back against Zhang Yuan and was easily killed by a punch from him. The gap between the two was like a chasm. He raised his head and looked at the body lying on the ground in the distance. The blood flowing from his back had already stained a large area of the ground red. Could it be that this person is also a marrow refining expert? Thinking of this, he came to this person's side and pulled off the face cloth again. His expression slightly froze. Sure enough, he was also a marrow refining expert. The young master has become so powerful without anyone noticing. This kind of record, even a high-level blood exchange expert can hardly achieve. Do you recognize them? Old Ma nodded. I recognize them. They are both envoys of the Wanman Trading Company, and they are both 6th-level body tempering experts. So they were sent by Jia Wan. He's really bold and persistent. Normal. People like them can't be scared off by the county lord's words alone. Although the young master gave his property to the county lord, the wind and thunder sword technique and the bathing in medicine secret formula are still very valuable. Old Ma continued, if I had known that the young master would have such strength in just a few days, I wouldn't have given all of our property to the county lord. Zhang Yuan smiled, there's no need to worry about gains and losses. Without the viscera refining pill given by the county lord, I wouldn't have my current strength. Besides, haven't you noticed that among the people who followed them, the strongest is only a marrow refining expert? None of the high-level blood exchange experts have appeared. Old Ma pondered for a moment, then nodded, what the young master said makes sense. It seems that the county lord has also made an effort and kept those high-level blood exchange experts in the county, not letting them leave the city. Chapter 15. Returning to the city. Ji Yumo watched as the two people approached at high speed, feeling a sense of relief in his heart. It's good that nothing happened. Suddenly, he was taken aback, staring at Zhang Yuan's approaching figure in a daze. As Zhang Yuan got closer, he felt a vague sense of oppression. He couldn't help but feel incredulous. Could the young master have made another breakthrough? Breaking through the marrow and entering the 7th level of body tempering, reaching the level of blood exchange. This kind of strength is only possessed by 3 people among the younger generation in Linan County, and one of them is himself. The young master's talent is unexpectedly terrifying. Or did something special happen to the young master in the past half an hour, causing his strength to skyrocket? He was immediately confused and puzzled. After a few breaths, the figures of the 2 people appeared in front of the carriage. Did anything unexpected happen while I was away? Ji Yumo shook his head, then nodded. Nothing major, but 2 people just tried to follow you. I originally wanted to kill them with a stone, but they managed to evade it. However, they also retreated. The old horse said, they didn't retreat, they took a detour and found us again. Are you two all right? The old horse waved his hand and said with a smile, what could happen? They are just seeking their own death. The young escort next to them heard this and couldn't help but exclaim. Uncle Ma is amazing, being able to easily kill 2 people while facing them alone. Yes, Uncle Ma is as impressive as ever. Truly strong even in old age. Uncle Ma is indeed an experienced person, to be able to effortlessly kill those 2 people without any injuries. Quote. Seeing the young ones boasting next to him, the old horse felt extremely embarrassed. He was about to defend himself when Zhang Yuan spoke up, thanks to Uncle Ma, otherwise I would have been in danger. Oh, young master. Zhang Yuan smiled and shook his head. The old horse suddenly understood, that's right, don't underestimate me. Even though my vitality has declined, my strength is still not weaker than before. Do those 2 insignificant people think they can threaten me? Suddenly, the old horse received waves of praise. After everyone's enthusiasm died down, Zhang Yuan said, let's go, back to the city. Yes, young master. The old horse then shouted, little ones, let's go, back to the city. In Linan City. What's going on? Why are you all running towards the city gate? Something big happened, don't you know? What big thing? Zhang Junyuan is dead, and now his son is bringing his body back to Linan City. They've been wearing mourning clothes all the way. Are you talking about Zhang Junyuan, the Wind Thunder Sword, Zhang Junyuan? Who else could it be? How is this possible? Isn't he one of the top experts in our Linan County? How could he suddenly die outside? There are always people better than us. Haven't you heard of that? Those who work as escorts always carry their lives on their belts. In the end, how many of them can die a natural death? Meanwhile, Zhang Yuan had already crossed the gate of Linan County. Everyone from the Junyuan escort agency was dressed in mourning clothes, wearing plain white robes. On both sides of the attic, it was crowded with people at this moment. Zhang Junyuan suddenly passed away, which was a huge news in Linan County. At this moment, almost the entire city came to watch. Oh my, everyone from the Junyuan escort agency is wearing mourning clothes. With so many coffins, it's not just Zhang Junyuan who's in trouble. That's right. It seems that all the elites of the Junyuan escort agency have fallen outside. It's really terrifying. Zhang Junyuan was the top expert in our Linan County. He actually led the entire Junyuan escort agency to be wiped out outside. Then someone sighed, ah. With Zhang Junyuan's passing, the Junyuan escort agency is in trouble. Old man, why do you say that? Look, the old man hinted, gesturing for him to look at the surrounding attic. Only the rarely seen important figures were now appearing on the attics on both sides of the road. There was a peculiar gleam in their eyes. With Zhang Junyuan's passing, the Junyuan escort agency has become a hot cake. Who wouldn't want to take a bite? But he still has a son, Zhang Yuan. I heard he's also a talented young man. Haha, talented young man. Even if he can be considered a talented young man, so what? Who will give him the time to grow? The old man continued, come and see. It won't be long before you find Zhang Yuan dead in the street, either sinking to the bottom of the river or being thrown into the wilderness. Several people nearby heard their conversation and agreed. The old man is right. His future can be easily predicted. It's a pity for such a good-looking person. There are women who will be heartbroken. Speaking of which, his father was also outstanding back then. His appearance made all the women in Linan County yearn for him. County Lord's Mansion. At this time, Li Hong stood on the top of a high attic, overlooking the entire Linan County. Old Wu, how did Zhang Yuan get the confidence to openly announce Zhang Junyuan's death? A man dressed in all black beside him shook his head, I don't know. Do you think it's possible that his strength gave him the confidence? The man in black shook his head, not very likely. Even if he has refined the viscera refining pill bestowed upon him by the Lord, at most he has just entered the marrow refining stage. This level of strength can only be considered mediocre in Linan County. Li Hong nodded, that's true. Then he turned and went downstairs. I don't feel like guessing anymore. We'll know in a few days. If he relies solely on my protection, then he deserves to die. At most, I'll avenge him afterwards and give him a decent burial. Junyuan Escort Agency. As Zhang Yuan entered the gate, he saw a group of women and children with red eyes. He rubbed his head, feeling a headache coming on. Uncle Ma, go take care of the aftermath of our fallen brothers. Take out the remaining money in the escort agency and give it to their families for support. I'll figure out the rest of the money. Yes, young master, old Ma said. Then Zhang Yuan turned to Ji Yumo beside him. We can't get the Longchen sword that was being made for you before. We can't afford the final payment, so we'll have to wait a little longer. It doesn't matter. Ji Yumo held the ordinary iron sword in his hand and said, I think this ordinary iron sword is good enough. It's the person who is powerful, not the weapon. I have heard that the higher realm of swordsmanship is to have no sword in hand but a sword in the heart. And further, it is to turn everything in the world into a sword. Although I can't reach that level, I can still cut through divine weapons with this iron sword. Zhang Yuan smiled, there's one more thing I want you to do. Please, young master, take my invitation and go to the major forces in the city. Invite them to attend my father's memorial ceremony in 3 days. Old Ma, who was standing nearby, instantly came over. Young master, are you saying that we will hold a memorial ceremony for the old master in 3 days? That's right. Zhang Yuan nodded. Good. Old Ma exclaimed excitedly, we must let the old master leave in a grand manner. The old master has achieved great success in his life. How can he silently return to the Yellow Springs? Thanks for watching, subscribe and support my channel.